Snow is falling. The movie's flickering. I go where it's silver, watching their hair, wondering where fantasy ends and real begins. I know it's all pretense. Don't let this feeling end, 'cause somewhere in silver, truth starts to bend at trade movies, podcasts with friends.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Trade Movies Podcast. Today I'm talking to Isabel, who is a Louise Brooks superfan. You can find her on TikTok at Angry Weird Thing with 2 G's, no spaces, ANGRYWEIRDTHINGG, or Instagram at Angry Weird Thing, no spaces, with 1 G. Isabel, welcome to the show.
Hey, happy to be here, man.
Happy to be here. I'm excited. This is a special episode because we weren't planning on it, but we did 3 movies. So this is like, so Isabel picked Pandora's Box. I think you had made a comment saying you're a big Louise Brooks super fan on like a separate video.
Yes.
I can't remember which video, but somehow she
I think
came
on
up.
Wilhelmina's video.
I'm sorry? Oh, on
I think
Wilhelmina's.
yeah, on Wilhelmina's
Yeah.
video. Yeah.
Wilhelmina, for the view, if you haven't listened to that one, I'm blanking, Olivia de Havilland super fan. And I did a bunch of Olivia de Havilland stuff. And so yeah, my general thought is, and this is an invitation to the audience, if you are a super fan about someone in particular, like especially older Hollywood, let me know. You can come on the pod. And if you want to like explain to the viewers, because I love doing that episode and I'm excited to do this one. So yeah, Louise Brooks super fan. And so we watched Pandora's Box, she picked, and I picked Something Wild by Jonathan Demme, which I hadn't seen, because I had heard that there was a character called Lulu in there based off of Louise Brooks. And then I'd watched Star 80 this last weekend, and I was after I watched Pandora's Box, I'd watched Star 80 and I was like, this is basically the same movie. So
Yeah.
I wanted to add that in.
It is.
Yeah, how'd you I don't know what the first question is gonna be. The first question is like, why are men like this? Would be one,
really.
or how did you?
No,
is this what it's like being a gal? I guess.
I think it really is. I think all of these movies are really about just like the female experience, and just what it's like to be an object of desire, and just inherently, and the consequences of that. So, I mean, men are just like it. You don't know why.
There's like so I'd also send over the article that Star 80 was written on, and that was really when I wanted to send over the thing, because I thought the article, which was written by a woman, what's her Teresa Carpenter? No. Teresa Carpenter. Is the lady's name in? Okay, no, it's Dorothy. I thought her name was Teresa in Star 80, but yeah, Teresa Carpenter, the author, wrote this article about Dorothy Stratton, the main character of Star 80. And I think the article did a really good job of calling out the men, probably even more than the movie did.
Yes.
And sort of like her being an idea of something. So when I started doing stuff on Brooks, and you might have even said this in the comments or as we were talking, like, was she historically, I guess if you could set the context, was she like the first of like the huge starlets that like everyone was like, was she one of the first she was probably certainly one of the first Hollywood it girls? Was she like the first?
Yes.
Or was it Clara Bow?
Definitely Clara Bow. She talks about this also in her autobiography, is that Clara Bow really was the quintessential flapper. I think visually people look at Louise Brooks and they think, oh, she must be the quintessential flapper, or she's definitely one of the first biggest starlets, which is which is wild considering like she made very few films over her life and only 2 that really receive critical acclaim today. But I think her style and her force of personality were of huge interest to the public. But to me, it goes Gish sisters, Gloria Swanson, and then Clairvaux, and then Louise is kind of like an addendum to Clairvaux. But so no, I wouldn't say for sure, but I think her lifestyle was the transition from, the 1910s, early 1920s to the roaring 20s as we see it now. That was kind of like the main, starting period of her life. So she existed in that world for sure.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
This movie that you picked, Pandora's Box, I saw that it was, and at least on Wikipedia, it said dismissed by critics on initial release. Was it a popular movie with the public as well, or like was it popular with the public and not with critics?
So in Germany, it was actually based on 2 very famous German erotic plays. They were sort of synthesized, and Asta Nielsen in 1920, she had done the same film with Pabst, but it was like completely tampered down. There wasn't all the sex and the violence and the incest. So it was like a censored version. And so Pabst had actually done this like exhaustive search for Lulu. And actually, I don't know if I told you this, but Marlene Dietrich was sitting in Pabst's office to be interviewed when he heard the cable from Brooks that she was going to do the movie, and he just dismissed her and was like, "Okay, go away." Yeah, exactly. And you would think
she wouldn't
that
have been as good for this. No offense to her, she's great, but
yeah, he said that she would have ruined the character with one look because she was too, you know, smoldering in her sexuality. She's more like
tough too. No offense to Louise
Brooks,
she seems like very like, but
yeah,
Marlene Dietrich is more. She's always felt like more punk. I don't know, just kind of like in your face, like stronger.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not trying to like cast aspersions, but
no, totally. I mean, Brooks had a much more like childish sexuality in a way, where she just really existed as herself and was sexualized for it, whereas Dietrich was much more like directed.
Yeah. It's interesting you use that word too, because like that is like a sort of a thing. The other thing I forgot to say in the intro is like that is hanging over this movie in all 3 of these movies. Well, I guess less so Something Wild, but Star 80 and Pandora's Box certainly. So the other reason is like, so I'd watched Star 80, and if you've seen Star 80, it is like a very hard watch. Content warning on it, because it is an extremely, it's Bob Fosse, I think, exploring, who's I think is like, I would put him up there like with the greatest of directors, because he's Cabaret and All That Jazz, which are 2 of my favorites. But like, I think he's exploring, those movies are very sexual, and All That Jazz certainly goes into like his sort of sex addiction and like his like like love addiction. And I think he definitely did this from the perspective of like, there but for the grace of God go I, in terms of like Eric Roberts' character in the movie. He's like, if this was like, and that was in the article, I thought that they Teresa Carpenter, I think she ends with like one of my favorite lines. She said like Eric Roberts' character, whose name was, I don't even want to say his name, I'm just gonna call him Eric because I don't want to give him more fame. Even that's the other fucking horrifying thing about this movie. Even the act of making the movie is kind of like fulfilling the guy's mission, which is like, it really kind of, it's like someone I saw called it like an evil movie, and like, as much as I love Bob Fosse, it is just it's kind of evil.
It's super evil. Like,
it's super evil.
God.
He fulfills it. He fulfills the thing.
Eric Roberts, he is literally like, he's the devil in that movie. He is just the caricature of the devil.
Absolutely.
Like, he's not even a real person in that movie.
It is, well, it's so it's interesting you say that, because like, I think, yes, I half agree with like, yes, but he is like, that is almost the thing of like, there's at least been 2 movies made about it, I think, in terms of like different men doing that. And like
Yeah.
when you said like the sort of like child, like it's, she almost has like a childish sexuality, or like that's the point I think that Teresa makes in the article, and I think the movie makes a bit too, is like Hugh Hefner's total obliviousness to sort of his role on some
Hmm.
level of like how much he's exploiting this lady, and like, well, he just is being a father to her while he's effectively like pimping her out
Yeah.
and like, you know, like basically using her as his way to like get into like a star, like a bigger, a next level of Hollywood, because Hollywood's
Yeah.
kind of like more of an outsider, and like
Yeah.
he wants to put her in. And yeah, so it's like that, the line, like that was another reason, like there's so many like similarities it felt like, but yeah, that
Yes.
one of like just kind of this weird sort of like parental sexuality,
Yes.
strange.
With Brooks's benefactor, like Lulu's benefactor in the movie too. You know, where there's just
Yeah,
this old guy just kind of hanging around and leeching off of her. Like, it's almost like he's, like, stealing her life force, like,
yeah,
literally like a leech, and he's always there, and he's always doing all these machinations behind the scenes so that he can benefit, and to me, that's super similar to Hefner. I mean, Dorothy was essentially just another object on a conveyor belt, you know, and
yeah,
you see that in the movie at the end where he's doing the exact same thing. He's looking at the, um I guess the negatives or something of
uh-huh.
this next girl that he's then gonna just do the exact same thing to, and it's, you know,
It's a
it's
conveyor line.
exactly, it's just a
Yeah,
conveyor line. So, um,
I was really, I really did. That's the movie that I mean, the ending of it, yeah, I think kind of like saves it from being like truly evil, because I think Fosse starts to make a point about like, I think he was, from what I read, he was like super, he was afraid. I mean, Bogdanovich in the movie, and Hefner threatened to sue the shit out of him for like
yeah,
implying that they were as much fault as Eric Roberts' character.
right.
But in a way, it's there but for the grace of God. Like his only crime is being small time and too violent. But like I think Fosse's point was that like, and Teresa Carpenter's point was that it's really the same, like it's the same impulse
It is.
in all three
Yeah,
dudes.
exactly. It's the same,
Yeah.
just, like, packaged a different way. I mean, they all have something to gain from her. They don't
Yeah.
really, you know, she's not really a person to them. She's
Yeah.
like, you know, she's this idea of something. You know, she's this idea of youth, of beauty, of innocence. She's not, you know, and even in the character herself, like in the movie, like she, to me, she wasn't really developed because there, besides like her yearning to leave all of this, because there was nothing to develop, because all we have are like the perspectives of these men around her, because she's dead and she can't talk about herself anymore, you know, or
Yeah.
show us who she really was. So, you know,
That
it's pretty.
issue perspective, I think, is the most fascinating thing in all of these, because like, especially this story, especially Starry and Pandora's Box, because like I still like, after watching Starry, I was like, I would never like, to say like you're gonna want to like remake a Bob Fosse movie is like crazy, but like if I was ever to like I was like, that movie hasn't, like someone should probably remake it focused on
Yeah.
Dorothy Stratton from her
Yeah.
perspective, because
Hmm.
there's very little on it, and like the evilness of it is like, he's almost like making the viewer complicit. I think I wrote in my like letterbox review of it, is like he's making the viewer complicit in objectifying this lady in a way that like, I don't know that like, he's so like, I know he absolutely knows what he's doing, because like he did the same thing in Cabaret, where like there's a fourth wall break and he's making the viewer
Yeah.
sort of like complicit in like the rise of fascism. Hyper relevant movie. Uh if you're a Nazi listening to this, like it's just like,
Go watch it. Go
yeah,
watch it.
yeah. If you're a Nazi listening to this, that is basically the end of that movie. Is like, yeah, Nazis in the room now.
Mhm.
Um so Pandora's Pandora's box.
Pandora's box.
Yeah. So I kind of wonder, yeah, with the public, I saw that it like, you know, it did, I think it did
Yeah,
like somewhat well, right? Like at
yeah.
least
I
like,
mean, so basically, I totally got off track with what I was trying to say, but the Germans were so mad. They were
mhm,
so mad that Pabst had picked this young American girl who had been in maybe 5 or 6 of these cheesecake Paramount, the, you know, like famous players, Lasky, blah blah blah, like
mhm,
these pictures, and and they were so mad. They were like, why did you pick this person? And obviously Pass had his vision, and it turned out to be right. But from what I have a biography that Barry Paris wrote of her, and then I have her autobiography, and then obviously I have online research, and they all have conflicting reports on how it was received. But at the time, it was okay. I remember one of the critics had said that, "What is Louise Brooks doing in this movie? She does nothing in this movie. She doesn't act. She doesn't do anything." Um, and so I think it's kind of up in the air whether or not it was well received publicly or not. Obviously now it's well received, but at the time it's it wasn't it with Clara Bow. It wasn't anything like that kind of smash box office success. So
interesting. Yeah. I wonder, is this the first? It feels like it's the earliest. I mean, I'm not as well versed on like older film, like this era, like silent film, as I probably should be or would like to be. But it felt so modern. I got to say, that was one thing I noticed. It's like they're super modern, just in its construction. The editing's tremendous. Like, it does not feel like a silent movie. It feels like it's really well paced, and it's like it's not cringe at all. Like in a way that like some, like even as a fan of them, some older movies can be kind of like, it is a different style. Like it's a very melodramatic style. This like just is really, it was like watching a Scorsese movie or something.
No, totally.
Is this the first voyeur movie? That is kind of like one of the reasons why I'm wondering why, like specifically why it had such an impact on directors. Like, because it feels like so many directors really love this movie. I think because most directors are voyeurs and they love, like, because they're camera people, and that's like an inherent part of it. But this seems like the earliest one that I've seen that's like, let's explore the idea of just like being obsessed with this woman and looking at her.
Yeah. I mean, I would say so. I can't say for sure it was the first, but it was probably one of the first. I mean, a lot of the shots in the movie too. I mean, they're so far back. I mean, when I was rewatching it now for the 10th time, I was, there's always something I'm struck by, and I don't know if you remember, but when Sean's fiance is talking to her dad, and her dad is like, "This dude has a mistress. Like, why are you marrying him?" They have this shot where you see the enormity of the room that they're in, and it's just like the camera's like 6, 12, 18 feet away. Like it is very voyeuristic in a sense. And definitely in a way that they're kind of, you're not seeing Lulu, in my opinion, through the perspective of these men, but you're definitely, like you're saying, you're very much like obsessed with everything that she is doing.
Well, that is the question that I think, I don't know if I would disagree is the right word, but like because I think it's partly through the characters, like partly through them, but it is, I feel like, through Pabst and through like a male director's like, the thing that like kind of, honestly, it didn't ruin the movie for me, but it certainly like added a bit of poison to it, was just the Criterion copy. I honestly, Criterion, if you're listening to this, you're not, but if you are, you should take that out. Like, and whoever displays this movie, I know Hugh Hefner paid for the restoration. You should not see that at the beginning of the movie, because it changes the movie. It's like a change to the, it'd be like saying like, I'm trying to even think, like, certainly you can see that a lot with like Weinstein, right? Like, because his name will be in the credits with a lot of stuff, like produced by Harvey Weinstein. But it's different in that, like,
to me,
this is restored. I don't know, there's something different about it, and like that, like this is like, I felt like Hefner was like presenting this to me in a way that like he's like, he's the one running the goddamn projection. Yes.
It's gross.
Which like reduced her to like Louise Brooks in a way, in the same way that the characters did. It's like even a meta commentary of like, I feel like all the characters in the movie were obsessed with her, and like just sort of treated her as, like, to your point, like they kind of abused her, or like, ended up using her and like just wrapping in whatever they wanted. And then I feel like the director did, I think it's a great movie, but like it is just such a male POV movie. And then
no,
Hefner
definitely
did too. And it's just like, the movie shouldn't, I don't know. Yeah.
She's not safe from these men, even in death. She's just
Yeah.
not. She's literally not, you know.
She's
It's
not.
like, and every single man in that movie had a design for her. Even, you know, Alwa, who was in love with her, you know, like he wanted something from her. He wanted her love. And I mean, then the rest of them had even worse intentions. But,
Yeah.
you know, they in her autobiography too, she talks about how Pabst had no feeling of sexual love or even love to in her experience with him. His entire film and all of his films to her were just motivated by sexual repression and hate.
Mm.
And you can see that in how most of the
Oh, I see
characters
what you
do.
say, yeah.
They're sexually obsessed with her, but they're also like disgusted by her and
Yeah.
reviled. You know, they hate her for eliciting those kinds of that kind of obsession within them. They
Why are
resent
you
her
doing
for
this to me?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. How's
Why
that
are you
like
being
being a
so
lady?
cool?
So that is a feeling, speaking of perspective, that I'm totally unfamiliar with.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, what's there? What's there?
Is it
It's
scary?
such a common experience. I mean, it can be scary. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, we saw in Star 80 the ultimate consequence of that, and you see it
Yeah.
at the end of Pandora's box too, where you
Mm-hmm.
know something was the only one where they have a happy ending. You know, like you
Mm.
know they ride off into the sunset in the station wagon, but the rest of them is yes, the culmination of those kinds of feelings is just it's death, it's murder, it's violence. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's being auctioned off. You know, and then, you know, all that stuff still happens today. It's not a new problem, and it's a
Have you
very old
considered
problem.
us so that our feelings could get hurt pretty bad though? You know, on the other side. I know. You know what's fucked up? This is like it's also the thing of like even just this presented by Hugh Hefner.
Yeah.
It was a real like you know not like a woe is me thing. Like obviously not compared with any of the women. I'm not trying to say that, but
No.
adding another thing of like when Louis C.K. had his whole like things that were revealed about him, not on the level of like not trying to defend him, but like I'm not
No,
saying he's
yeah.
like a Cosby level
Yeah.
predator, but like you know he had some fairly things about him.
It was gross. It was
Yeah,
gross.
yeah, you know, but he like was fucked up as like I think he was one of the better ones who sort of like spoke
Yeah.
honestly about that type of stuff. Like I
Yes, he
remember
did.
there's the joke he had even when we were talking about like death and stuff. He's like I think he had a bit that I loved that was like he's like about the difference in like dating consequences for men and women. He's like, you know, for men
Mhm.
it's like our feelings get
I
hurt,
love
but
it.
for like a woman's it's like, well, she could die. Like, you know, that's
Yeah.
like
He
the
can
number
murder
one
her.
cause of
He can
like
murder
us. Yeah, it's like I think he says like the number one cause of like us is like heart disease, but for women it's men. It's
Yes.
just
It's
like
really it's and I
yeah,
think, you know, being like a straight woman, it's like you're fated
yeah,
to be entangled with your ultimate danger, really. Like
yeah,
there's no way to escape it unless, you know, you kind of do what Louise Brooks did in her life, which was just completely retreat and not, you know, engage unless she could get something out of it too.
yeah,
So, you know, it's pretty bad. It's
yeah.
pretty bad.
It's not fun.
Not fun.
Not a fun
Not
experience.
okay. No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah.
Yeah, that I don't know if there's been a movie. I'm trying to think because like all three of these movies were like very male. So it's like it's funny. It's like if you had to like almost I don't know, but like not the risk factor of it because like um certainly there's a lot in like Pandora's box, but like that's pretty heavy on it where it's like your risk. It's like obsession to then exploitation and like
Yeah.
hate and like all that.
Yeah.
Star 80 is like obsession to murder. Spoiler alert, but like, you know, doesn't end well. Something Wild, on the other hand, I just watched it last night and that's just like that felt very it felt like she was like kind of the first Manic Pixie Dream Girl. I don't know how I feel about
And literally
the
when
movie so
I
much.
was watching it and taking notes because otherwise I can't pay attention. But
Same, yeah.
I was like, oh, this is just manic pixie dream girl. Like,
Mm,
oh, like I'm gonna burn your car, or like I'm gonna like, you know, handcuff you and like, you know, it's just very much like like, oh my god, my cool, quirky girlfriend.
Yeah. It's a
But
weird movie. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest
I
with you.
honestly, I thought Melanie Griffin, right?
Hmm.
She's the star. I thought she was kind of flat in it. I thought
Yeah.
she just didn't really do it for me. And I've seen her in other stuff and liked her, but I don't know. Maybe her character was just not written with enough depth for her to really do anything with it, because she is very much a manic pixie dream girl, and there's not a lot of complexity in that. It's like a
Hmm.
manufactured complexity. It's not like genuine.
Yeah.
Also that movie, it felt so maybe it's because it's 1986. It felt so American.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it. It just was
Very.
so American, and they had so many like what felt like 1950s overtures. You
I felt
know.
the same way. Yeah. It kind of unlocks something about Jonathan Demme, at least. I'm thinking it's the third movie I've seen of his. I love Philadelphia, in
Mhm.
which he did, and I loved Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
But it felt like when he was watching, I was like, this feels very classic. And then when I read like the notes on the Criterion, he's like, I was trying to make a film noir and a screwball comedy together. And like, I totally, once Ray Liotta shows up, I was like, okay, this is like, that's when I started to get a lot more interested in it, because I was like,
Yeah,
I love
because
him.
it's
And
Rita Yoda.
yeah, because it's Ray Liotta. And it just gets more, it reminded me of The Hitchhiker, actually, speaking of like women perspective or women directed movies,
Mhm.
which I want to get into. But The Hitchhiker by Ida Lupino is really good, which
Yeah,
like, I don't know if you've seen that one, like the
but I
guys in
love
the,
Awkwafina. Yeah.
yeah, she's great. There's a guy who like goes, it's like basically picture like Ray Liotta, like I think he's like, he's like a hitchhiker that like he like forces these people to like take him on a road trip, basically. So it'd be like, I thought he was going to do more of that,
Yeah,
um
but then
which I think,
it
yeah,
turns
but the
into another
first
horror
hour,
movie. Yeah.
yeah, but the first hour was just kind of cringy. It was just like,
Yeah.
it was just kind of like, I don't know, like it was also, I thought the way like he filmed and like just kind of included like, there were a lot of black people in the movie, almost none of them with
Yes, what
lines.
was that about?
I
What
think it
was that
was like,
about?
yeah, I think it was like something like, I don't know, he was like trying to have, I think what he was trying to do was like in to your point, in the 1950s way, a lot of these like 1950s and earlier like film art, like they'll kind of show like the sort of like, they'll set like the environment by like showing like the kind of quirky little
Yes,
parts, but he's just
yes.
sort of like sampling all of these, like, it'll be like a shot of a hotel, but it'll like include like a shot of a black dude playing a harmonica. But then
Yeah.
the next scene will be black people dancing in front of a gas station. And then the next
'Cause
scene will be like, just like,
this this is what
yeah,
I'm saying. They were like set dressing. They were
yes,
just they were purely environmental, and it
yeah,
was so like it felt so over the top and like you're saying cringy. Because I'm
hmm,
like, wait, you're just rapping outside of the gas station, and then the ending where they have that lady sing that song, and then it's just kind of like,
yeah.
yeah,
And
it's
she's like shows up dressed like in full like African
yes,
regalia at the beginning of the movie, is
yes,
like
with
how
the
she,
necklace.
yeah,
It's just, what was that about?
it was very
Didn't know.
weird. Yeah. I
Ugh.
didn't, yeah, it was like, I don't know, like it was, once Ray Liotta got in and like once they started to explore, I was hoping that they would sort of deconstruct the Manic Pixie stuff a little bit, but I still don't feel like I got a
Yeah.
ton of like, I
No,
don't
because
know,
she was
yeah,
just along for the ride, right?
yeah,
She was again another, kind of prop, or and the same kind of sexual obsession and hatred when she wouldn't do exactly what he wanted. And
yeah,
that was it. I mean, what else was she doing except just existing near him to
yeah,
incur this kind of wrath, like, you know.
yeah.
So I mean,
How's that part of it? I mean, I get the violence part of it being bad, but just is that like sort of casual? It's almost like a casual disrespect, I
oh
guess,
yeah.
of
Yeah.
like,
I mean, it's like we're talking about with Lulu and Dorothy and Star 80. It's just, you're not a real person. You're not.
mm,
Then no one in this movie asked her, "Are you okay?" Nobody gives a crap. Like, nobody
yeah,
cares. Nobody cares. And I think that's just another level of being dehumanized, and so
yeah,
that then it's easier for them to inflict this kind of violence or exploitation on you because you're not, you're not a man, you don't really know about what it's like to be alive. So,
well, that's also one of the flaws, I think, of Star 80. When reading the article, I thought, the Carpenter, the author of the article, goes into like, she was not like, to the extent, I'm not saying anything against people who take a lot of drugs or like whatever, but she was not the sort of like classic nature, like story of like a Hollywood girl or like small town girl goes to Hollywood, goes bad. Like she was not
no,
that. She was like, she had like a rougher childhood, but like this guy picked her up when he was 17. Her mom signed away the rights to her. And
yeah,
like, but even despite that, she kind of like, she was like a really avid reader. Like she was really trying her, but like, she was like, she was not like the sort of like quote unquote stereotypical like Playboy bunny type.
no,
She seemed like a very interesting person that the movie like kind of think in a way glossed over.
yeah,
I
who
don't think
cares?
like yeah, I mean, but that's like as a point of like as a piece of art, I'm like, because it's from the perspective of Hefner, Bogdanovich, and Eric Roberts' character, it's like they also thought that, and we as a society think that. So I think that's what Fosse's going for, which makes it like it's a great evil movie.
Yeah.
But also I think like I feel really bad for Stratton, Dorothy Stratton, because like, yeah, I don't know. There's like, I still don't feel like I know her anymore, which I think is
Well,
kind of the point of the movie, but
exactly. And I mean,
yeah,
like I was saying, like we will never know her because she's dead, because she was
yeah,
violently killed because of, how essentially how beautiful she was. I
yeah,
mean, really, that was the message I got from the movie was that she was just so beautiful that, everyone became obsessed with her and they wanted to control her. And then when she couldn't be controlled because she was an actual person who was trying to exert some sort of agency over her life, she was punished for it.
yeah,
And I think it's kind of similar, to what happens in Pandora's box, where you know she never really tries to express any sort of agency. She's always just kind of like happening through these situations, but
hmm,
ultimately she has the same fate where she's murdered again violently,
yeah,
basically to atone for her sins in the movie.
yeah,
So um
really awful.
yeah,
And I
I
like how
mean,
they don't like really like the character at the end of the movie. They don't really. I mean, unless I totally misread it, like they don't really. I rewound like the last little segment of it because I thought the guy standing in the tunnel was the guy who killed her,
yeah.
but I don't think
No,
it is. I think it's just an old
no,
guy. But I think
no.
that's kind of the point. Is like this could be anybody,
Right,
and
right.
yeah, the
And I
remorseful
mean,
Jack the Ripper.
her longest standing manipulator too gets exactly what he wanted. He wanted Christmas pudding. And how does he end the movie? He's in the
Yeah,
bar eating, I presume, free Christmas pudding because he didn't have any money. So
yeah,
he's fine. He will always be fine. Whereas she actually suffers the consequences,
yeah.
Um,
But I mean,
so
think about men's lives without Christmas pudding. I mean, I haven't had Christmas pudding. I'm pretty sad. You may get killed by a guy, as a
I
lady who's
know.
obsessed with
I
you,
know, it's
but
horrible. It's
same,
so
when you think about it, it's the same thing. One of us,
right.
no
It
Christmas
is definitely
pudding,
the same thing.
getting murdered. When
Well,
you said like the dehumanization, I think like I've always had like a complicated, I don't know, I've had like a complicated, I don't want to say relationship, but like opinion on like the term manic pixie dream girl. Cause like it was used, I think, pejorative. Like some people have used it like about movies. I can't remember when, but I remember getting into an argument with someone who was like, "Oh, it's another Manic Pixie Dream Girl movie." I'm like, "You're just saying that phrase because it's a weird woman, but like it's
yeah.
not that. They were just like repeating a thing because
Yeah.
for a thing's sake, and it's like that's also can be very limiting on I think women characters and
It,
whatever,
it,
right?
I mean, in Something Wild, it is very much that,
Yeah,
it is that on, that male caricature of what
yeah,
they believe a manic pixie dream girl is. But I agree. Most of the time, it's just a woman who's weird and doesn't have like a stock personality and doesn't
yeah,
necessarily adhere to social conventions. And again, she's punished for
Yeah.
with a pejorative phrase of a stereotype of who she is when, that's not necessarily true. And
Yeah.
I think in Pandora's box you could, try to put that label on her. But, the more and more I watch it over the years, I realize, she's kind of just so childlike, and she's so passive.
Uh-huh.
Um, even after the trial, there's that scene where she goes back to the house for some
Uh-huh.
reason where he was murdered, and she's flipping through the magazine. She's looking at herself in the mirror. She's looking at all her fur coats. It's very much like, like
Yeah.
nothing happened. Like, she is such a survivor at this point that she's like, well, let's just go look at some look at some magazines, I guess.
Yeah.
Whereas Alwa comes back and he's like, "What are you doing here? Like, why are you here?" And she's like, "Oh," like,
Yeah.
um, and she's also very childlike to me in the way that she has like a few almost like toddler like tantrums throughout the film.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah. I think it's a thing of like maybe agency of like a thing of like I
Yeah.
don't think she and I think her and like I wouldn't call either her or Dorothy Stratton. I think I would probably get into a fight with someone like a fist fight if they called Dorothy Stratton like a manic pixie dream girl.
Oh, no.
Um because like that would just be like this is an abused woman. I think both of these are
Yeah.
like abused women. I think like the manic pixie, but I do think what's her face in Something Wild, Melanie Griffith is
Mm.
I would call her one
Yeah.
for a lot of it. I think like I was happy that like when she starts like it turns out that like she's sort of I don't think the writing is makes a lot of sense as it gets towards the back end of the movie as she's like upset at
Mhm.
him for lying but not upset at him for lying and like lying about
Yeah.
certain things. It didn't really do it for me, but like
Yeah.
I was happy that she was just like, oh, I'm actually using this person. Like that's the reason that she was doing. Some of it was like I'm using this person to sort of to lie to my parents. I think like she could have done that without like, ooh, I'm just corked up and you need to start lying and sex. Like that doesn't make sense to me because it's like that would make the person like she's doing all this to lie for like a 30-minute conversation with her mom and her
Yeah.
mom doesn't even believe her. And it's like, I don't think that all that would sort of work against it. Like I feel like I don't think it explores like the feeling behind wanting to like behind her character's feeling of like wanting to lie to their parents. So I do
No,
think it is
'cause
kind of manic pixie. I
the
think.
thing about it is too that confused me about that is, right, she has this whole Louise Brooks, you know, necklace, like all these
Hmm.
messy, the stolen car, and then she undergoes this literally Marilyn Monroe transformation in the middle of the movie to
Hmm.
have said this 30-minute conversation with her mother to pretend that, she's good, she got married, whatever. And it's like, is she really like how she was in the first part of the movie, or is there some kind
Yeah.
of yearning for like normalcy, which kind of pushes it through to the end of like, oh, she actually just wants to be like normal and like not engage in all these crazy behaviors.
Hmm.
So it just didn't
Yeah, it's
track.
also kind of regressive, weirdly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally,
it is
totally.
like because like even at the end, just the little part of like she probably has another stolen car, but it's like a stolen family car, like a station, like a wood classic like family car, and then he opens the door for her and like he's like I'm gonna drive, and it's
Yes.
almost like
Oh my god.
the life that they're gonna live is like kind of like a bit of a more of a hybrid, which like I get, but that's kind of a weird imposition to put on like this otherwise like very free, like, you
Right.
know, person, I guess.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I hated that. I hated
Yeah.
that. It felt just too it was just too convenient, after we had literally watched like a horror movie. Like everyone's
Hmm.
covered in blood, Ray Liotta's staring into his eyes as he dies. And then it's like, oh, like, let's go ride ride away together. I'm like,
Yeah.
eh. Like it could have gone better in my opinion, but again, I'm no director, so
It doesn't matter. I mean, you don't need to be a chef to know that the food tastes like shit, right? I mean,
that's
that's yeah. You know who she was dressed like? Do you know this is gonna be shout out do you know do you ever watch like any old wrestling, like the 80s, 90s wrestling? No, okay. Maybe, you know. I'm gonna share my screen for a sec because she looks like this guy. Let me actually give you. So his name is he's most famously known as by the name One Man Gang. Like all these pro wrestlers have like
Yeah, I have.
20 names.
Yeah.
But he was Crusher Broomfield, George Gray, who's apparently still alive at 65, which is surprising for a wrestler of that era. But Crusher Broomfield, Crusher Gray, George Gray, One Man Gang, Panama Gang, UEI Gang, but then also Akeem. For 3 years in the World Wrestling Federation, he was known as Akeem the African Dream. And this is like when I saw this is what she felt like she was kind of dressed as. He was basically,
yes.
That was like, so for audio only listeners, pause the episode now, go Google Akeem the African Dream.
She might have been wearing, she might as well have been wearing a dashiki. Like it just was ridiculous and so over the top. And it was just kind of like, I just did not like it. I don't know. I don't know what was going on in 1986 that he thought that was a good idea, but
not to call out I think there was a thing when I was looking briefly at like the Letterboxd reviews for it, there was like a thing, not to call it David Byrne, but I saw one of the reviews on it that was like oh damn, where was it? It was really funny, but it was like,
yeah, because what is he doing there? And then what is John Waters doing there?
Well, he is famously like really into like African music and like, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And like he is like, yeah, someone said something about like that they thought Demi was like sort of satirizing, be like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if a person was like overly interested in African music to the point of being kind of weird? And David Byrne's like, yeah, that'd be weird if anyone did that.
Like, if that's what he was going for, then I'm totally on board. But that was not like,
I don't think it was satire. Because he did it as well. It's weird because there's another movie this reminded me of that I really didn't like, but also in retrospect, it's like if he was going for that, I kind of get it. I don't know if you've seen the Albert Brooks movie. What's the road trip movie? Lost in America, also on Criterion. It's a short movie where like basically two very unlikable 1980s yuppies like just decide to quit their job and go on a road trip, and then just realize like they just fail, and like we're gonna live the countercultural lifestyle, and they just fail, and then like end up like going back to live at their yuppie jobs in like the 80s. And like I thought they were so unlikable, and I didn't think the movie was very funny. It was also around the same year, 1985, that I thought like it just wasn't for me. But I think he was making like a larger point about like, even if like yuppies or baby boomers did this, it like they really do want like the suburban life, and they want this and they want the other thing. But I didn't necessarily think that was true with whatever character Melanie Griffith was in this. Like I didn't think she was like secretly wanting to be some type of like part housewife.
Yeah, that's why I got confused. I got confused like 3/4 of the way through the movie. I'm like, wait, you're like, were you doing that in the beginning out of like, again, survival? Like, was that why you were acting that way? I don't know. It was very strange.
I do think, I'd be curious, like your take as a lady on this theory for the Manic Pixie Dream Girl. You're speaking for all women now, so no pressure. Yeah.
It's me. But I'd love to explain it for everyone.
I think that the definition, or not the definition, but like let me see if there's like what the Wikipedia says. But like, I remember, I'm not claiming this. Although if a woman did it, I will claim it just because, that's what we do. Which I think like, no, actually it was made after, his I guess Nathan Rabin after Kirsten Dunst's character in Elizabethtown, which I haven't seen.
No,
he criticized the type as one-dimensionalist from Wikipedia, existing only provide emotional support to the protagonist or teach him important life lessons while receiving nothing in return.
Yeah.
And I think like, yes, and that does seem like a fair amount. Like, I think Melanie Griffith has a little bit of it. Like there's an attempt there, because I think Demi's like a good director to give her something.
Yeah.
These other, as I said, these other two movies are the abuse. But I think like one of the attraction of like, I've always struggled a little bit with like if people have called the movie Punch Drunk Love Manic Pixie Dream Girl, because that's like, that was such a important movie for, I don't know if you've seen that one with like Adam Sandler. Oh, it's tremendous.
Bro, you've seen every movie. I need
I
to get
haven't,
on
but
your level.
no, it's really, well, PTA has a new movie coming out next week, so it'd be a good
I
time to,
heard that. I
yeah.
heard that.
But in the movie, Emily Watson's character is kind of like, it's basically Adam, like it explains sort of the rest of Adam. Like the reason I first saw it when I was like 13, and like I loved Adam Sandler as a kid because, you know, now being like a later diagnosed certain type of person,
Yeah.
like his, like in Happy Gilmore and like Waterboy and like Billy Madison and all this, like as a kid I saw like this guy struggling with social situations and sort of like not knowing how to handle his emotions, lashing out, having meltdowns, and I was like, brother. Yeah, how's it going? It's good to see some representation up there.
Right.
Even just like, especially too with all the sports related stuff, like I loved playing hockey as a kid, partially because I would just get to go out and just crush people. And like my special interest.
That's why I like watching hockey. That's the only sport I really like to watch. It's just to see dudes beat the crap out of each other.
I have been yelled at by so many parents because like they thought I was doing it maliciously. I don't know what that word means totally, but like I wasn't doing it meanly. I just like, the way I would say now is like I had a special interest of hitting. And so like I would just like be excited all day in school that I would go out to play a game, and I would just get to just light people up. And like, cause I like watched so much hockey and was obsessed with it.
Hockey player though. That's the thing that makes you a good hockey player, to have a special interest in checking the shit out of people. Like
it was not good for the other kids. Cause like, not to say I was like, but cause I was like a bigger kid, and I was like, especially like I was more portly at the time. But like if you can predict things in hockey, you can really just fuck someone up, because like it's just harder to avoid things on skates, right? So like
totally.
In my older brother and my dad, I do have some criticism for them, because like they were I don't know if you know the guy Scott Stevens from the New Jersey Devils in the 90s, but he's like known as like, yeah, the greatest for audience. He's like the greatest hitter of all time, and he would like known for giving people concussions. And so like I was growing up when he was just doing all that, and my brother and my dad, I'll be watching him with them, and they just be like, watch what he does, like look how good of a hitter he is, because they were all like clean hits at the time. Now they banned all the hits basically at the time. At the time. But they're like, yeah, look how bad a concussion he gave him. And it's like, you know, and my dad always would shout out my dad. He's like, they signed up. I was like, Dad, I don't know if I should hit these kids that hard. He's like, they signed up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They signed up.
Get out of the kitchen. Can't take the heat.
I definitely had many parents yell at me for it. But I forget where I was going to. Manic Pixie Dream Girl, like, so so from Punch Drunk Love. So Punch Drunk Love is really good, but like Emily Watson's character in it kind of is that a little bit, where she like, I don't treat her as that, and I don't really think that in itself makes a bad movie. I think like if you had nothing but that for women characters, first of all, in terms of like Hollywood depiction of women, that's way down on my list in terms of like, you know, like issues that I have with it, like quirked up women in movies. I think absolutely they're like, it sucks that there's so many of those like type of archetypes. But I think that's a confluence of like probably many weirdo directors. And I think from a dude's perspective, like the thing that I would say is like, I think like the Manic, like I think it's attractive to a certain type of director or whatever, because it's the idea of a woman being interested in you in like a way that I think like, I think the tragic part of it is like, I don't think men get that. Like, I don't know, not that men don't get that, but like, that's like the worry, especially I think if you're maybe on the weirder type, speaking for not myself or whatever, but like the idea of like, you know, when you meet someone, like them being interested in you for your weirdness or for your quirkiness. Weirdly, in a way, when you were talking about the dehumanization earlier, it kind of reminded me of like, it's interesting that like the response to that is like, I think a lot of it comes from a place of like sensitivity from dude directors. I think of like, I don't feel like I'm like a woman is interested in me, or women in general are interested in me. So wouldn't it be so cool if a woman actually was interested in me for me? But in response to that, I'm going to totally remove any semblance of like inner monologue she has. And so it's just like, they're fulfilling a role, you know?
She can't have one. She can't have one for that to work, you know? And you're talking about this, I'm thinking about 500 Days of Summer. which is basically, to me, about the maybe this is a hot take or whatever. It's about the consequences of doing that, is that eventually she just leaves. She's not interested in you anymore because you didn't treat her like a real person with her own thoughts, wants, and feelings. So she, luckily now we do have the option to leave. We're not as subjected to we still are subjected to violence, but you get what I'm saying. Like, we do have more of an option to leave more unscathed than we did before, where, if you were married to someone who treated you like an object or whatever, you're kind of stuck. You're kind of, it was,
back in the good old days. Yeah,
it was controversial if you decided to leave. So.
Well, you had potentially no like legal power. Like, is it? Maybe it's a different movie. No, it was The Misfits. I thought it was one of these movies, but it was The Misfits. You said I think we were talking off camera. You said you've seen that one?
Yeah.
That's how she gets coached up. Remember at the beginning of the movie?
Right.
Because I just watched The Misfits last night before this thing. It's like, when she's talking about Marilyn Monroe in the movies, opens the movie for the viewers, getting a divorce in the 50s or early 60s. And her like lady friend, played by, I want to shout this lady out because she's one of my favorite actresses, and I feel bad for not knowing her name. Thelma Ritter. Thelma Ritter's coaching her, being like, you have to specifically say this thing in order to get a divorce. Marilyn Monroe's, but it's not like that. But she's like, no,
it doesn't
you
matter.
have to say this.
It doesn't matter, or you
and
can't.
She's like a divorce coach, which is so cool.
Yeah, I love that. No, that's very much, especially for the time. I mean, you had very few legitimate legal ways to leave with anything, I mean, I've seen a couple movies where, especially from the 30s and 40s, where the motif of getting a divorce was you had to go to Nevada. You had to just go to Nevada. You couldn't, because you couldn't get it done in like Maryland or Georgia or wherever you were. You had to go to Nevada, stay there, establish residency to, I think, establish a separation, and then you could file for divorce. So,
you just gave me a great idea for a lady cowboy movie. I'm making a note for that.
I'm forgetting the name of this movie, but there's a movie, I think it might be The Women, actually, where they all end up at this ranch in Nevada waiting for their divorces or something like that. But I could be mistaken. It could be the wrong
Many
movie.
people have recommended that to me. I need to see that one.
Oh, it's great. It's really fun. And Joan Crawford is evil in it.
Yeah.
She seems really funny.
I love to see that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I was thinking the idea of going to Nevada as a lady, like, I mean, that's another, like, speaking of perspective, I mean, there's been so few women directors who have been allowed to work, women like filmmakers who have been sort of allowed to work in this way. So that seems like it would lean so much into like the old Western mythos of like, and that's kind of what the Misfits did, I think, a little bit of like, the allure as a woman of going out west, representing sort of a kind of freedom.
Yeah.
That'd be a great Western movie. Like, cause you see the guy, like, he's bitter and broken. So he's got to leave the East Coast. Like that's the Gary Cooper and the Hanging Tree, or like a million other Westerns of like, he's just got to go out west and be this full-time cowboy because of like trauma. But goddamn, like, in terms of alienation, like certainly, probably that happened more to women. That would be a neat story, I think, to.
Yeah, you should write it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. If you're a lady out there who can write it for me, and then I'll direct it and take credit.
What this made me think of? Louise Brooks's last movie was in 1938 because she had effectively been blackballed for not redubbing her voice for the Canary murder case, which was actually, it's credited as one of the first detective movies, with William Powell. I don't know if you are familiar with him. He stars in all the Thin Man movies with Myrna Loy, which is another detective series. But her last movie was a Western style, and she's lost her bangs, and now she has the classic 40s hairstyle, and John Wayne was her love interest in the movie.
Overland Stage Riders or Raiders?
Yes, Overland Stage Raiders. Yeah, That was her last movie. It's pretty funny how it all comes full circle, right? So,
and what did she say? You said she.
oh, she said of John Wayne that he was like physical perfection, and that he had the face of what did she say? Of like all mythological like characters,
That's
like
so funny.
gods, and yeah, I mean, I can see that in 1938. John Wayne was looking pretty good, so
Yeah. He definitely has a star quality to him. I mean, he just pops up.
yeah,
There's certain people. That was the other, like, you definitely have that with Louise Brooks of like, there's
yeah,
certain people that escape the screen for
totally.
some reason. And I don't know why it is, but they just have these larger. John Wayne, absolutely. I mean, like, as I started watching more and more of his movies, I'm like, oh yeah, it makes sense that he's the biggest star ever, basically. Because,
Yeah.
yeah. George Sherman directed Overland Stage Raiders. That's cool. Oh, I got him confused. I was thinking of George Stevens. That would have been cool. I don't know George Sherman. I don't think I know George Sherman.
No, but that was her last movie, and then she's actually from Kansas. So she went back to Kansas after her Hollywood career was essentially over, because she was advised by Walter Wanger, who was like
Crazy name, by the way.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I kept reading it over and over because I'm like, they must need
I think
Wang.
is it not Wanger?
I'm saying Wanger. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
My guy's
that's
slinging that thing. Yeah, sorry.
What?
Yeah.
No,
Sorry.
he's not getting any dignity here. I'm sorry.
Okay. Sorry. Is he bad? Was he bad? I don't know much of.
I mean, he and her had an affair, and he's actually the
Okay.
one who got her involved with the Astoria studio Paramount lot and got her first like role in one of like the cheesecake movies. I mean, Paramount at that time was just churning out movies. Like I
Mhm.
think they're churning out a movie a week basically. Because
Gotcha.
it was big business, and people were thrilled with movies. I mean, it was
Yeah.
a fairly new technology. It really only been around in that kind of capacity for maybe like 10 years at that point. So you have to put it in that context as well. Um, but he told her in like the 40s, he was like, if you stay in Hollywood, you're just gonna become like a call girl. Like
Hmm.
you gotta get out of here, because you're just hanging around. She had a huge alcohol problem also. She was a heavy drinker since the age of 14.
Yeah.
And he was like, you gotta get out of here. So she goes back to Kansas and lives with her mother. And she said it was almost like a sort of penance where she's scrubbing floors and arguing with her mother, and, kind of like, again, punishment for the life she had led thus far. And she was a really skilled dancer, and she started a ballroom dancing studio, but she was so mean to her students that the studio closed, and
Mm,
she ended up in New York, and she was a call girl for a certain amount of time in the 50s before she was rediscovered.
mhm.
So yeah.
She had a difficult relationship with her mother, right? I mean, I didn't get to finish that documentary I sent you.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
I watched
yeah.
the first 20 minutes of it. And it was basically she got abused as a kid, like
Yes, yes.
like from guys, like
Yeah,
and
twice
also
when she was a child, like
she was
literally a child.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it started early, the sort
Mhm.
of abuse by
Yeah,
dudes, which it does,
totally.
right? It's like
Yeah,
the picturesque of grooming, but also sure her mom was no like her mom. That's heartbreaking because
yeah.
like her mom, I think, blamed her, right? She's like, "What did you
Yes,
do to that old man?" I mean,
yes,
that's
yeah.
another.
It's
The
like
only time you all have agency is when you trick us, seduce
right,
us into doing something
right,
that should get us hanged.
right,
You
it's like
know?
Eve, right? It's like that's all we
Yeah.
can be is Eve.
How is that? I mean, is that bad? Is that feel bad? Like if you, because you can't do anything. If you need actual agency, you guys don't get it. But that if you do anything that causes us shame, then it's your fault. That sucks. That seems like it sucks.
I mean, just in my own personal life, I definitely have dealt with that. I think I dealt with that
Yeah.
probably until I was, I'm 29 now. It's probably until I was like 25. So it's
Jeez.
because, I mean, I always felt like I had agency, and I did obviously contribute to situations, but especially when I was younger, like in high school and even in middle school, it was like, you know, you're it really was like you're either an object of desire, or you're, you know, it's like, it's just Madonna and the whore. really.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
it. You can't be anything in between. You can't be, complex and have your own feelings, really.
Have
If
you
you're
seen the movie Luna? That's another.
No.
I'll add these to the recommend. I'm keeping a
Yeah,
list
you gotta,
of
yeah.
like movie. Yeah.
Keep me busy for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Well, Luna, these are going to be have some comfort movies
Yeah.
if they're going to be talked about in this episode. Yeah, Luna is a movie by Bernardo Bertolucci that I sort of bought a little bit as a meme because like I don't think I'd seen a Bertolucci movie, but I knew the score was done by Ennio Morricone, who I love, and he's a tremendous composer. So I was like, this is cool. But then I saw the thing, I was like, I thought the plot was so ridiculous because it was like I saw it on something about like a mother decides to save her son from heroin addiction by sleeping with him. And I was like, that. I was like, I got it. Like, there's just no way. I was like, the 70s were wild. So just as like a movie curiosity thing, I was like, I got to see this. It's like, and also Morricone doing a score for that is just like, it seemed crazy. I knew Bertolucci was highly regarded. Turns out it's like the best examination. Like, it's a tremendous movie, I think. And it's like the best examination of, I don't want to say somehow he pulls it off, but however, it's like, it's not about like, that's such a silly description of it. Cause like, that's how it was described to me, but like it turns out it's like the best examination of like the generational, Madonna horror thing that exists in Italy going back like 2000 years. There's like a really bunch of haunting things about like, he films it in like all these like old Roman places at times where it's just like, oh, this has been going on since like Roman times of like, that's awful to think about.
I mean, what's the world's oldest profession? It's sex work. So I mean, it's like it's kind of an inevitable truth, really. But yeah, I mean, even Louise Brooks, someone was a huge star. She made over $3,192,929 in Great Crash and whatever dollars in her career. That's where she ends up, is being a kept woman and working with an escorting agency and an alcoholic. So, it's very much like Lulu, where it's a punishment.
Reading about her history definitely makes Pandora's Box harder to watch. Just knowing that, like, in the same way that, like, the Misfits, like, again, to watch that, like, I think Clark Gable died 2 days after production wrapped.
Yes.
Marilyn Monroe died a couple, like, 18 months after, and what's his face? Montgomery Clift also died.
Yes.
Like, pretty soon after that. And it's like the movie is about them dying, more or less, or like their way of life dying. But like this one, it's a movie about her getting abused and pimped out, and then it's like, oh, that was just not even really.
Totally. I mean, Paps, when she was filming, she had brought her her boyfriend at the time, George Marshall, who went on to own the Washington Redskins. Very racist guy. Also, when I was looking at him recently, I was like, oh my god, he was very against. He was very pro segregation. And
are you talking about was it George Allen, or was who?
No. It's let me double check, but I think it's George Marshall.
George Marshall. Okay.
I think George Preston Marshall. Yeah.
George Preston Marshall. Okay.
Yeah.
I think George Allen was a coach, not to interrupt your story, but to interrupt your story, because this is the thing about interrupting women, and
shut up, lady.
Yeah. Cool, because we're also, I mean, I was thinking about this the other day, because yeah, shut up, lady. Clip that, please. But because like there's no scandals anymore in politics, so someone was pointing out, I had misremembered, maybe you remember this, or not misremembered, but I'd forgotten, like George Allen was a coach of the Redskins. He was like one of their famous coaches. I think he had a son that was also named George Allen that ran for governor. He did serve for governor. He served as governor and U.S. senator, and he lost to Jim Webb. And there was like a controversy in his thing. He called, like, he had grown up partially in like Morocco or something, and he called some reporter, I think it was macaca, which is like means monkey or something. It's like some like French, old French slur from like Morocco or something. and like that was like such a huge scandal.
Yeah,
That
we don't
like
have any scandals anymore. You're right.
yeah,
It's every day. It's literally every single day. So,
yeah, and he so I was just thinking when you said Washington Redskins, it's like it's no surprise that like yeah they got that guy involved in the history, and then also George Preston Marshall owning a team. He renamed them he renamed them the Redskins, and then relocated him to Washington D.C.
Yeah,
Reading his
great.
Wikipedia, he was a supporter of racial segregation and the
Yeah,
last NFL owner to integrate African Americans onto a roster. Okay, famous.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's
that
a
makes
great
sense.
guy.
Yeah,
Great guy.
just a solid brother.
But
Yeah,
he actually was the one who got Louise the part in
that's crazy.
Lulu. He uh so she had been a Folly showgirl, and when she left Paramount, George was like, "Let's go to Europe and like do this movie." And she was like, "Whatever, like fine. I want to go to Europe anyway. Like get me out of here." And they're on the
Mm-hmm.
boat, and he receives a wire from Ziegfeld being like, "Please, Louise, like come back and do like this major show, like you'll be the star, blah blah blah." And Preston Marshall rips it up and throws it overboard and sends one back and said, "I'm never gonna work with you again."
Oh.
And I'm like, talking about not having any personal agency. But I mean, she said later on, she was like, "I'm glad he did that because I would have never done Pandora's Box and
Mm-hmm.
Diary of a Lost Girl," which she did with Past also. But yeah, again, I mean,
Man,
it's like choices just being made for you is not great. So
yeah. Does she have agency at all? And like, I'm wondering, like, it's weird. It's like I think on some level in the movie, it feels like she's learned to survive a little bit.
yeah,
I guess between them, like she definitely like I'm trying to remember the exact scenes, but probably one of the more one of the we were talking about this a little bit off camera, I think, but one of the more horrifying scenes is so towards the end of the movie in that great sequence that could be like if I ever remade this, I would love to do like an uncut gem style sequence because it's like very heart pounding where like she's at this gambling hall or like it's on a
yes,
boat and like
yes,
everybody needs money from her and the whole thing is like crashing down
yes.
and like one guy says like I'm gonna sell you to this Egyptian guy for like $300
$300.
because the cops
Yeah,
only give me 250
yeah.
and then her husband
She's like,
or
"I'm not doing that." Yeah, no, totally.
yeah
She
always
definitely has.
like I need money.
She
Yeah.
has flashes of agency for sure in the movie. I mean, like we were talking about with the tantrums.
Mm-hmm.
She throws the tantrum at the review, like the show where she's dressed up in this amazing costume and she's like sees Sean's new girlfriend or fiance and she's like, "I'm not going on. Screw
Yeah.
you guys." And she literally is jumping up and down like a child. And finally they're like, "Can you please like talk to her, whatever?" And she gets her way, she
Mm-hmm.
she does get her way. She gets shown and he gets exposed and now he has no choice but to marry her. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure, I can't say exactly why she wanted him to marry her that bad. Maybe it was to secure some sort of financial security for herself.
Yeah.
But, and then in the second tantrum with Alwa, where he's like, "I'm gonna turn you into the police because you killed my dad." And she's like, "Fine,
Mm-hmm.
I'll call the police myself." Like,
Yeah.
I don't care, And he's like, "Wait, wait, wait, don't do that, actually." And she
Yeah.
gets her way. He like protects her. She gets a passport, and they get on the boat where everything comes crashing down. And so she did have certain agency in certain situations. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she goes to that in that boat scene. She goes to the lady, the one lady who's like sort of obsessed with her, which in an early
Yeah.
sort of like probably the
Mm-hmm.
earliest one of the earlier movies with like a pretty open lesbian
Yeah.
subplot
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
I can't remember the character's name. Bad with names,
It's
but
the
the
countess. The countess. I forget her full name.
yeah
Um.
yeah I
Yeah.
think it's Countess Augusta Gishwitz.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
not
yeah,
remembering all
Alice Roberts. I guess. Yeah, and she goes to the countess and is like, "Can you seduce this guy?" At the same time, the other guy's saying like, "You got to seduce the countess," and she basically sets this woman up to get essayed. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to be like a
Yeah.
brutal, like brutally
No,
essayed.
she does. There's no way she was
Yeah,
so naive that she didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, she was childlike in her behaviors, but she wasn't naive, you know.
yeah,
No, and then she has to kill him because he's trying to, he's trying to assay her. Um, you know, So she did have some agency. Like I said, she wasn't naive, but at the same time, it was just the consequence of her, you know, being herself that she
Mhm.
kind of ended up in all these situations.
Yeah.
Um, Paps actually said to her because, when she first came to Germany with George Marshall, he was like, "All you do is party. You're out until 4 a.m. every night. How are we supposed to shoot these scenes?" And then Marshall left, and Paps literally said to him, "I am very glad that you're leaving. I'm really glad that you're leaving." And then after that, she was basically on lockdown. She
Mhm.
was like not allowed to leave to go out and party. She had to go to bed at 7 p.m. and stuff like that, which, like, I get that he was like, "Hey, can you be more, like, professional about it?" But, like, again, she had no control over what she
Mhm.
could do, and, Paps told her after they finished Diary of a Lost Girl, and he said, "You live your life like Lulu, and you're going to end up exactly like her." And it's pretty it was pretty accurate, um but at the time, she was like, "Shut up." Like, "I don't care what you're
Yeah.
saying." But her looking back years later, in her autobiography, she's like, he was right. I lived super recklessly, and I didn't plan for the future, and then I didn't care about my health or my friends or my family or anything, you
I
know?
like saying you live your life like Lulu as he's a guy contributing to her having to live her life like Lulu.
What an
It's
ass.
like that says it. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of pissed off at the Criterion, like even past the Hefner thing, because like,
Mhm.
tell me if you think this is an accurate description of it. Uh, the film follows the downward spiral of the fiery, brash, yet innocent showgirl Lulu, whose sexual vivacity has a devastating effect on everyone around her. That's like in the marketing of the movie on the Criterion website, whose
Yeah.
sexual vivacity has a devastating effect on everyone around her. It's
I
like
mean,
you're kind of like saying like I don't
yeah.
wouldn't put it like that.
No.
Like
No. I think
yeah,
that's kind of like and it definitely mirrors her life too, where she was just inherently sexually liberated and didn't, lived her life with abandon in terms of sexual wants and engaged in bisexual encounters and, didn't, she didn't care. She had no shame.
yeah,
And it's more like it didn't have devastating consequences to anyone around her. Like, that was
yeah.
yeah, that's just her living her life, and like I said with, Lulu, just being herself,
Other
so
guys is like untherapized sexual obsession and repression
yeah,
had devastating effects on her and have devastating effects on themselves that cause them
yeah.
to lash out on women. But like even 100 years later, when they're selling this movie, it's just like, damn, this bitch was so hot and she was such a slut that it
Yeah,
just ruined all these
yeah,
guys'
it's
lives.
ruined
It's like,
everyone's life. Like,
what the
there's
fuck?
no empathy for her in that description, really.
It's
There's
not.
no empathy, just the way they set that up,
And
which is
it's
very
a testament to
counterintuitive.
Brooks's dazzling individuality.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
mean, that's true.
I mean, that's a nice way to put it, I guess,
Yeah,
but like also like she's a lady. Like she's just like, and I'm not like trying to like downplay her, but like,
mhm.
you know, she's a she was like a assertive woman at a time, but they're treating her like it's like I don't buy Doritos for my house because like I can't help myself, and like I do hold Frito Lay a little bit responsible for that, like because I know they specifically make them addicting.
Like, put
You
stuff
know,
yeah,
they do
yeah,
put stuff in them,
yeah.
allegedly. I'm
But
alleging this.
she's
Other
like
people have alleged.
Doritos without her putting anything in it.
That's what
She's
I'm
just
saying.
cheap Doritos, and if you can't control yourself, that's on you.
It's
Like,
an inherently objectifying thing of marketing around her
yeah,
because it's
yeah,
like she's just a thing that like has a devastating effect on everyone around her. Like she's fucking Mercury in a lake or something.
yeah.
Shout out my old hometown of Kingston. But like, it's like Mercury by itself is not harmful or
No,
otherwise. It's like,
exactly.
yeah, and not even like me compare. Like I even feel bad compare. Like she's, I'm not trying to say
Yeah,
she's inherently toxic to
no,
humans or whatever. It's just like she's. I don't know. It just feels like still more of like an object, I
yeah,
guess.
definitely. I mean, and,
Yeah.
again, even when her notoriety or her films were revived in the 1950s, um, she like, and they were appreciated really for cinema instead of,
Hmm.
the sexuality aspect of it or the shock value. It was orchestrated by men too. Like,
Hmm.
she probably would have died in obscurity if they hadn't, revived her career, which
Yeah.
I prefer that obviously than than the rest of the stuff. But again, she wasn't necessarily making any effort to revive, her career or be taken seriously. She was living alone in an apartment in New York and drinking herself to death.
Yeah.
So, you know, obviously the fate she had was a lot better, like being in Rochester for the George Eastman house and
Mm.
doing a lot of stuff with them and being more supported and having more of a community. But, again, it's like a lot of these women's lives were just dictated by men. Even if you had like a really strong personality and a really strong sense of self, it kind of, you as a woman, you're not in charge of the power structure. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you don't get that say. But yeah.
You know what's interesting? The article you sent, I wasn't able to read it, but in terms of like setting her up, because it was on the Criterion, it was included as part of, it's included in the Criterion. They include the article that you sent. But interestingly, in the New Yorker one about Louise Brooks, interestingly, the original they have it in the. I could probably wonder if I could show this. Because I didn't even know it was the same because I was like considering possibly reading it, but like
It's so
I don't is it's good or bad?
no, it's really good, but it's just so
Mm.
long. And I have
It's so
no
long. Okay. Well, on the thing, the original title of the article was "The Girl in the Black Helmet."
Yeah.
And so it's not,
Yeah.
but I noticed on the thing, the New Yorkers changed it to Louise Brooks Tells All.
Yeah.
Like, as opposed to like the original thing was still just like, it's not Louise Brooks, it's the girl in the black helmet.
Yeah.
It's like,
Again, she's an
yeah,
object.
she's an object. And also,
She's
even
just a thing.
perspective, notice the first thing. None of this would have happened if I had not noticed. So, none of
Yeah.
this would have happened if I
Me,
had not noticed.
Kenneth
Yeah.
Tynan. If I hadn't noticed, like blah blah blah, like shut up, like shut
Inherently
up.
setting her as the object of
To be,
another
yeah,
piece of
to be
thing.
viewed, to be viewed.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the rest of the article because he has like direct quotes from her and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I do enjoy that part of the article. But I mean,
Yeah.
I completely agree. Like,
yeah, and I haven't read it. Well, I'm not even necessarily saying it's a bad piece or like whatever else, but just like it's interesting that's even what they include with the original thing in the Criterion. Like this sort of like, it's just kind of, I don't know. It's just there's something fucked up about, if Starry is an evil movie, this is kind of an evil physical media release, I think, because like there's still sort of like, I don't think you should. I think she's probably the most important person in the whole thing, even director or otherwise included, just in terms of like everything that the movie says about her and also how it sort of incorporates with her real life. But like, yeah, it's not, they don't, the thing is like, the marketing of it is like how other people see it and like
it's
her as an object.
Hefner-esque.
It's Hefner presented. It's like presented by, they should just remove, I don't care if they get sued, that should be removed.
Yeah.
And that might be a campaign I start. I don't know.
Okay. I'll sign your GoFundMe.
Yeah. Yeah. We need to start a, yeah.
Yeah, we need a GoFundMe to sue them.
Yeah. Yeah. So fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
So she did this movie, and then she did her other big movie was Diary of a Lost Girl. Was that the same year, same director?
It's like right after. And she actually writes in her autobiography that she slept with Pabst to secure the role, and said she gave him the night of his life.
Pick me up off the floor.
Yeah. Oh my god. She also had a one night stand with Greta Garbo.
That tracks. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. That tracks. And
yeah.
When she was in Hollywood, she was like a frequent guest at the Hearst Castle. With Marion Davies, and she and Marion Davies' niece were like quite close. You know what that means, because she was her niece, if her name was Peppy, was like a noted lesbian. And when she left Hollywood,
speaking of kept women, Marion Davies, famously
So Hearst, like, I guess, finally figured out that she was a lesbian and sent her to a mental institution, and she jumped out of a window and killed herself. And Brooks like credited that too with her like disgust and disdain for Hollywood in general. She really didn't like Hollywood. She much like preferred New York.
Yeah.
So it's
You know,
great.
it really makes me uncomfortable because like I do have this theory that if you've a regular listener of the podcast, audience viewer, or whatever. First of all, shout out because I'd be curious if anyone's actually listened to all these. So DM me and let me know. Or if or if you just I don't even know if this has been an episode, but I have this theory that like the more you can tell what a director is sort of like into, like fetish wise in a weird way, the better the movie is, because like it's almost like if they're that into like Tarantino with feet, I think he's a pretty good director.
Well,
But
yeah.
like he got, my guy loves himself some feet.
So
Yeah,
so bad though.
it's
And
so
I hate feet. And so I'm struggling the whole time knowing that.
I'm
I'm
not
like,
a foot
this
guy either. Yeah,
feeling.
but shout out to all my feet people. No, that's your thing. I'm
No
supportive.
offense. No
No
offense.
offense, but just not me. But I think like that, it's generally a sign of like if he's that into that thing, then like he can then proportionally, like there's some motivation that he's also might be really into like editing or a
Yeah.
certain type of camera angle or something. So like Hitchcock was clearly one of the most repressed, horny guys ever towards like blonde women, but he's
I
also
know.
makes very fascinating movies. Speaking of voyeurism,
Because
about
he is
blonde women and being obsessed with blonde, yeah, because he himself is. So like I think they correlate a lot, but there is like I don't know, just like this one and Star 80 just both made me so uncomfortable with that, of just like there's also something very evil, not evil, but like contextually, I mean, it's hard to separate it because like even Fosse goes into this with all that jazz, where like it shows him like in his capacity as like a Broadway producer, like kind of flirting with, and like he's definitely sleeping with a lot of the actresses in a way that like there's a slight power dynamic there a little bit. And GW Pabst, Louise Brooks sleeping with him, it's like I don't think that's HR wise that's really great. Like it's probably not good.
I think
Yeah.
Paps kind of suffered from the same condition that the characters in Pandora's Box suffered from, where he was probably sexually
Yeah.
obsessed with her, but also
Yeah.
like hated her for that, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a real "how dare this slut make me so hard" type of thing. You know, it's like how dare she exist?
Oh my god, I know, like, and it just makes me. I think that's part of why I'm so obsessed with her too, is because even though this was like the condition, again, like the condition of her life, like this
Hmm.
was what she experienced and everything, she was still like she had such a distinct like voice and in within, like
Hmm.
I'm so grateful that she decided to write a lot in like the later part of her life. So there is a lot more where you can actually hear what she wanted to say and what she wanted to contribute, like
Hmm.
again, like Dorothy Stratton didn't get that opportunity, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I am obsessed with her. I also just think it's so interesting her acting style in the movie, like what you were saying before, where it doesn't feel so cringy because for the time, I mean, that was not how people acted. People were compensating
Hmm.
for the lack of sound by making these huge exaggerated faces and these exaggerated movements. And she does that like a little bit in the movie, but mostly it's just super naturalistic. And that's probably
Hmm.
why it feels so modern upon watching it, because that
Hmm.
that is kind of how people act now. They're really trying to act like they're in real life, so to speak. And
Yeah.
I think that's what she was doing in the movie, and it's kind of like it's kind of revolutionary in a certain aspect because that's how people were going to act 10, 15 years later. So
Yeah. And I do wonder how much that does tie in with the voyeurism, because like if the rest of a lot of the other performances of the time are very, even ones that I love, like I don't know if you've seen The Passion of Joan of Arc.
stop.
You like that one?
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I've seen that again, like so many. It makes me cry, dude. It makes me
Speaking of what, I
cry.
didn't realize, like I shouldn't say this because it's a very sad movie, but it's also I was kind of dying laughing, like because I watched it with a former friend, a lady, um, who was complaining like around the time about like getting like working in the modern world and whatever else, and like being
Yeah.
gaslit, and
Mhm.
so watched it with her, and it's just a woman getting gaslit for like 2 hours,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's one of, and I
Like
like I was just
emotional
trying.
torture.
I was
Yeah.
trying so hard not to laugh, not just because like she was getting so
irony. Yeah.
She was getting so pissed off at the movie of just like, because just like this shit has been happening, because like it's been happening, like they knew about this all the way back in 1927 or whatever, but also it's portraying like 1100s and it's like 1,000 years of gaslighting.
Yeah, it was the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I love that movie so much. I love it so much.
But it's definitely a more like melodramatic performance by her in a good way.
Yeah.
And not in a bad way. It's just a different style.
I mean, it's
yeah.
You know, to me, it should be melodramatic because I mean, she's about to get murdered the whole movie.
Yeah.
You know, and
she's like ascending spiritually too.
Yeah, she's like convinced, you know, for whatever reason, who knows, that she is being spoken to by God. You know, the stakes are extremely high. You know, it's like she's going to like get a cup of coffee and she's, you know, acting that way. But I love that movie. It's so beautiful too. It's just beautifully shot. I could go on and on, but
yeah, no, I was thinking like, I wonder if like, I don't know. I'm trying to like, I don't know the right way to say this, but like her sort of like, even this is like one of the earliest sort of very subtle movie performances I've seen. And I kind of wonder how much of it was, I don't want to say this, but like maybe potentially it was helped by Pap's obsession with her visually, because like he was just like, I'm happy with the camera on her regard. Like we don't need, she's so compelling.
Yes.
That in a way that like almost everybody is, like everybody, if you catch him at a certain time, I think is like, John Ford does this really well with like, he loves kind of weird looking dudes. He has like the stock of weird looking dudes that are in all of his movies that he just knows how to like, I love them. And like, he knows how to like the Coens, like they find the weirdness and like, I love those like in the people. It's not something that you have to be like a beauty thing, but I think like Pabst was so clearly just bricked up with like for her that like he was able to just sort of like maybe let her just be more natural with it, if that makes sense.
And that's the exact thing she says too, and all her writing about it is that Pabst would basically give her like an emotion, you would just like go. And just let her go. Which like I think is something nice about their relationship is that he did trust her enough as an actress to just, you know, she says in her autobiography too, she's like, Germany with Pabst is where I actually became an actress. Like I wasn't an actress before that. And he, you know, he would also do this thing where he would try to provoke certain emotions out of the actors. And she said that for the last scene, where she's, you know, walking around, she's like destitute and like, you know, she's about to get murdered. She said that Past was like, okay, I need like an outfit for this. And he shows her a bunch of outfits. She's like, I don't like any of these. So he goes and he takes her favorite suit and was like, this is what we're going to use. And she's like, no, because like you're going to rip it up and stuff. And then he gives it back to her. It's like covered in oil and like grease stains and all cut up. And she's like, that she's like, she has to do the scene. She's like, my favorite suit. Like, why would you do this to me? You know? Jeez. And she was like, what did she say? I have it here somewhere. She said, I felt hopelessly defiled and I didn't care what happened to me. And so I'm like, well, I mean, kind of worked for the scene. But I mean, that's one of the stuff they would do. And I mean, I'm sure people still do crazy stuff like that. But he really wanted like genuine emotion. He didn't want to have to coach the actors that way.
I don't think, that is like something you hear a lot. I don't know, like, I feel like that's just like, that is a legacy of stuff, you know. There's a really good perspective by Tad Griffith, the guy, Zorro, one of the guys who was Zorro. He was like the guy who was like Antonio Banderas, one of Antonio Banderas' stuntman in The Mask of Zorro. I did an interview with him.
I saw that.
He's really, but like one interesting thing. So
cool.
He is like one of the coolest and nicest guys ever. Yeah. But he actually was talking. It was really fascinating hearing him talk about training horses, because like he is like such a big animal rights guy, and like horses in Hollywood probably have been the only thing that compares with how women have been mistreated, and you know, every other group would be animals, especially horses, like you know, Ben-Hur killing so many of them, and like all these other things. And he was talking about like the parallel between like his training, like his dad was like an older guy and was like pretty harsh with him. And also, like, they weren't harsh with horses. They, like, this family's always been good with horses, but, like, when he was training his kids, he was like the exact opposite. He was like, I don't think it helped. He's like, I don't think it was like, he's like, it the training helped, but like he didn't need the stuff. And his kids are very good on horses too, but he also parallels the treatment that he does with horses, because like he doesn't even like, he tells like actors when he's training, he's like, don't kick the horse to like make it
Oh
go.
yeah,
He's just
yeah.
like, he trains them like voice commands and all that, because like you just don't need it. And I
Yeah.
kind of think about that with like all that stuff you hear about, like Hitchcock yelling at women and like, all
Yeah.
this like
Yeah. This
it's
extreme like stuff
it's this
that
old school
they
shit of
do.
like, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think you need any of it. It's like, why
Yeah.
couldn't someone have just said like, hey, you're gonna be sad and you're an
Yeah.
actress,
Well,
right?
and I mean, he would do that too. You know, he would be like, in this scene, you're gonna cry, and
Yeah.
he would never like do exactly what they were supposed to do in the scene, so that they were kind of like on their toes. And he
Mhm.
also kept the male actors like from talking to Louise at all. Like they never, they never talked. Like she was like, I'm pretty sure they like hated me, and that's what he wanted. You know, he wanted them to
Yeah.
like hate her. But yeah, you don't need to do all that stuff for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it worked for her because she was a very, like, instinctual person throughout her life, like, she really lived on instinct and,
Mhm.
her gut. So, but yeah, thankfully, we don't hopefully do that as much anymore.
Yeah.
But I just love that suit story because I just think it's so ridiculous.
Okay. So Louise Brooks. Okay. So all right. So Louise Brooks. So she did these movies and then she had to stop. And then she became re-famous by writing autobiographies, like a bunch of essays she started writing in the
So,
70s.
what ended up happening was, Henry Langlois, he's like this French film historian. He put on this big review, and there were these huge posters of Louise Brooks in like the lobby of where the review was, and people are like, "Who the fuck is that?" Basically,
Mm.
like, "Who is that?" And he was like, "There is no Garbo, there is no Dietrich, there is only Brooks." So like, he, as a historian, kind of, like, pushed it back into the forefront. Because I mean, a lot of her films are lost
Mm.
just because of, there was, like, a huge fire that, like, historically burned a million fucking silent films. That's why we
Yeah.
don't have as many. Um, but so he kind of put her back on, and then James Card, who was, I guess, the director of the George Eastman House in Rochester, which is another, like, film historical society. James Card, like, tries to, like, find her because nobody literally no one knows where she is. Like, she's
Yeah.
in that much obscurity, and she's a complete loner. She doesn't talk to anyone except, like, her brother to ask it for money, and, she's just drinking herself to death and, like, is, like, essentially a kept woman, and the only other way she makes money is that, William Paley, the founder of CBS, had been one of her lovers, like,
Mm-hmm.
30 years ago, and he sends her a check every month for her expenses. So he basically just takes care of her. He doesn't like see her or anything, but
Mm-hmm.
so that's how she was surviving. And so James Card reaches out to her and he's like, please, like, come to Rochester and like please like talk to us. Like we like love
Mm-hmm.
you and we think you're fabulous and blah blah blah. And she's kind of like, ew, like
Mm-hmm.
like why do you want to talk to me? She struggled so much with like self-hatred, I think, in general,
Mm-hmm.
that and you can see it sort of like in some of her interviews. She talks down on herself a decent amount. But she ends up going to Rochester and she ends up moving there, and that's where she does a lot of her writing and stuff like that, and finally writes her autobiography because she had actually written her autobiography in like the late 40s, but she hated it so much she literally burned it in an incinerator.
Mm.
So there was a previous iteration of it, and she just tried to, piece it back together afterwards. So, but yeah, I mean, before they reached out to her, who knows what would have happened? She probably would have just died in obscurity. No one would have heard from her or know anything about her beyond her movies. So,
Yeah.
just
Another
yeah,
guy getting obsessed with her
yeah,
and causing something to
yeah,
happen in her life. It's just the
yeah.
only way for Yeah.
There is something to be said, though. I mean, just for her magnetism, you know. I mean, I think you can see it in Pandora's box, even just, aside from viewing it through the lens of, there are a bunch of
Hmm.
men and, making moves behind the scenes and everything like that. I think she inherently was just a charismatic, magnetic, beautiful woman,
Yeah.
aside from being kind of put in this box of Lulu or a flapper or, a degenerate.
Hmm.
So, I love her so much.
Yeah.
I think she really had a talent too for film writing that I think is really rare. And we didn't really see from a lot of stars from that, the whole golden age. I don't think a lot of them became, film critics essentially.
Yeah. I mean, the other one who did like the famous autobiography, right, was
Yeah.
Gene Tierney, who
Yeah.
we were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah. That's fascinating.
yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if should be a movie made about her, sort of from the perspective of her. I mean, that's the other sort of probably even deeper tragedy in all this. It seems like she could have been capable a whole lot more of speaking for herself and having more agency, but
Yeah.
that just was not how her life was able to be defined at all
Yeah, and
in any
I
way.
think it was also like a byproduct of living in that era as well. I mean, I
Hmm.
think if she was born now and famous now and doing all these things now, I don't think people would bat an eye to a lot of her behavior.
Mm.
I mean, what was she doing? Drinking and doing drugs and partying.
She would be
And
complex. She would be cool. What are the Taylor Swift? What's the the man lyrics?
she would be the man, bro. She would
Yeah.
literally be the man.
I
Um,
can't think of that. I don't decide. Maybe I don't know if it's still online, but shout out that one guy who used to make all those crazy conspiracy videos. I think it's Jinx, but he made one about Ghislaine Maxwell set to that song that has always sort of ruined the song for me. It's like he kind of girl powered up Ghislaine.
that's freaking hilarious.
It's a very funny video because it's like very, yeah.
Um, I think the other thing I wanted to mention too was that she was like a very professionally trained dancer. I mean, she started dancing
Yeah.
in Kansas at the age of like 10 publicly. She
They
would
sent her off, right? In
perform.
that documentary, I think they said at like
Yes.
age 15.
Yes, they sent her off. She was basically recruited by the
Hmm.
Denishan Dance Company, who were headed by two pretty famous dancers, Ruth Denny and Ted Sean. I love how they just like mashed their names together
Yeah.
to make the dance company.
It's like
But
Desilu.
uh,
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And one of the other members of her company was Martha Graham, who was a very famous modern dancer and developed her own method called the Graham method, and people still use that today. But they just sent her off at 15. They had like this kind of hapless chaperone with her, and she was easily ditched, by
Hmm.
Louise. And but they ended up kicking her out of the company for her behavior that we
Mm.
just talked about, like cavorting with men and everything like that. And yeah,
Is there a way for dudes to be ethically obsessed with a woman? Certainly not, maybe not in
yeah,
that time period,
my
but
boyfriend. That's it.
he's ethically obsessed with
That's
you.
it.
Shout
That's
out
the
Isabel's
only,
boyfriend.
that's the only person that I've met.
Okay.
um, yeah, I mean, I really think it's super rare. I think you have to
Yeah.
be as a man, like, and not to, give men too much sympathy,
Yeah.
but you're
Oh, I thought you were about
raised.
to say too little. I was like, go ahead, but
Oh
yeah, that's
no,
good.
no,
Yeah.
no. I mean, I think you're raised to be that way. You
Mm.
live in a society
Really?
that encourages you to behave that way.
Oh.
Like you are groomed in a sense to behave that way. So
Mm.
by everything around you, by your family, by your friends, by media, by your experiences, by the advantages you get, you're not encouraged to think, in my opinion, to think critically about
Hmm.
how you view women. I think it takes a lot of self-awareness, and I think even people who think they're self-aware still fall short of that. It,
Yeah.
it has to be practiced, and you have to be willing to like catch yourself. And I think just a lot of people just lack that. But I also think you're already at the disadvantage because that's the norm, you know? That's
Yeah.
the norm. So
Do you think these movies contribute to it? Just by like flat. I mean, I gotta feel like Something Wild, in a
yeah, something
way,
wild.
a
Yeah.
little bit, because
Yeah.
like it's like, oh,
Definitely.
here's this really quirky, here's like this sort of
Yeah.
positive depiction of the manic pixie. But I also feel like Pandora's Box. I don't know. I'm curious, like, because my reaction to these movies, I think I wrote or maybe made a video at some point. Like, Vertigo was one of the defining movie watches in my life. I hadn't seen it until I went to college. I watched it in college. I was really obsessed with this blonde girl at the time, my first like long-term girlfriend, who later became. Um, but I remember just like coming out of that being like, fuck, I gotta look at myself. Like, this is this
Yeah.
is this
Yeah.
is not good to so totally be. And I just remember literally just being like kind of like shattered after, and like shaking after like coming out. Because that was the other weird thing. It was like a 9 a.m. class or like a 10 a.m. class. So we watched the
Oh
movies at like 10
god.
a.m.
I
So I
used
just
to
came
do
out
that.
into the bright lights.
Okay, go to your other class. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm just like, I'm ruined by watching this. But yeah, I'd be like, I
Bro,
don't know, like, do
I
you think
think
these movies
these
lead into it?
movies I think these movies, like, for sure at the time, like Pandora's Box, it's like, again, the punishment of the whore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it, you know, the like she got what was coming to her, etc. But I think something like Star 80, I'm sure at the time, because that was a fresh tragedy, people were like, that guy is evil. Like, you know, that
Mm-hmm.
guy is a horrible man, and you know, you should not treat women that way, and
Mm-hmm.
blah blah blah. You know, I think it's much different. But I think, you know, you could watch Pandora's Box now and obviously be like, okay, these dudes suck. Like every guy in this movie sucks, you know, instead of, you know, what it was like probably in 1929, how
Mm-hmm.
they were viewing women.
Well, you know
Um,
what Hafner said about that movie was that he ended up liking, like, he didn't like it off the start, but he ended up liking more. He's like, I really thought they showed how evil Eric Roberts' character was.
yeah,
Totally. But like him watching that whole thing, be like, well, I'm glad I'm not that guy. Is like, I think that's
you
not
missed
what
a
you.
bit.
Yeah, you missed a bit. Like, that's not. I don't think it. You're not excused.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's also the problem, right? It's like you watch something like Star 80 and you see Eric Roberts, he's like this completely over the top villain. Like he's just unbelievable. From the minute he's on the screen, he's a hustler, he's pimping girls out, he's trying to make money any way he can. And then he finds this like child,
Yeah.
literally, and he's like, this is my ticket, you know, this is my ticket. And I think when you have such an extreme example, it's much easier to excuse like Hefner's role and Bogdanovich's role, and you're like, well, they were like kind of trying to help her, so
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, it's more okay versus this guy who literally like violently murdered her.
Yeah.
So
He is really sad though. I mean, I do got to say, like, I did have like, you do get sympathy for
yeah,
him in a way that
yeah,
like it's hard. It's a hard watch, but like, and you could argue that it's like almost even but I mean, like, he wants to be loved and he wants to be a big shot so bad, and not
yeah.
excusing his behavior in any way, and
No.
like,
Well,
yeah,
I
I don't
think
know
that
there. Yeah.
also the masculine problem, right? Is like
Yeah.
he needs that recognition. He needs it so bad.
Yeah.
And he needs to be recognized also, especially by other men.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like the women that he engages with, they're more like
Yeah, that's a great
soft
point.
ego, soft ego stroking, whereas like he freaks out about Hefner not
Mm-hmm.
liking it, and like his he's dripping with like insecurity trying to talk to these men that he admires.
Yeah.
And he ends up obviously alienating them. But I think that again, that is the masculine problem where it's like you view women this certain way, but because you view women this certain way, you view men this other way where you need their approval. You don't need a
Yeah.
woman's approval, but you need a man's approval. I mean,
He's
not
very much a
not all.
fan.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like a fucking simp.
There's that, like, there's that real heart, like, super tragic scene where he meets, I can't remember the actor, but he's like
Oh my god,
insecure
that
about
was
the actor, and he's like, he approaches him like a fan, but it's like, we should do something, but then like the guy's
painful.
just like, yeah, totally sees through
Kind
him.
of like get away from me, like basically.
Yeah.
No, that one hurt me to watch. Those interactions, like, you know, they made me
Yeah.
like cringe because you can feel how badly he wants to be liked and respected. but he's like the most unrespectable, unlikable person, obviously, in the whole movie.
Yeah. But then I thought, am I doing that? Because like the reaction that like Hefner and like the other people have to him was like, fuck, this guy reminds me of the worst parts of ourselves. Like he's like me if I was a loser. It's like, damn, am I thinking about this guy the same way? Is that why I'm so also like grossed out by him? I mean, also his behavior, like in what he did is in no way like.
I mean, it's something that you fear that you could become, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
there,
I think
but for the grace of God. Yeah.
Yeah, literally. I mean, like everyone has the capacity to become something like that, whether they have the best or worst circumstances. It's human nature. So.
Do you feel that way about Louise at all? Like in a way of like there, but for the grace of God, like go I. Like if you were just sort of maybe put in different situation, like circumstances are born like slightly differently, that you could have just been tossed around by like 10 different guys as an object of obsession?
I feel like if I had been born as Louise Brooks at the time that she was born, I feel like I would have lived my life probably in a very similar way. I would like to think that I would have more agency over myself, but like we talked about, how much agency could you really have as a woman during that time? But I mean, even without having that agency, she was very rebellious and she pretty much kind of did whatever she wanted to a certain extent. In terms of like her personality and her sexual behavior and how she spent her time and how she spent her money. She until everything crashed down, she pretty much was doing what she wanted. There's this story too about her and Walter Wanger, and he's talking to her about, because she had 2 contracts up. One was either for Paramount for 5 years or MGM for 5 years, and Wanger was a Paramount person, and he was like, "You should take the MGM contract, because if you take the Paramount contract, then it's gonna look like improper because everyone knows we are sleeping together or whatever." And she's like, "Fuck you, I'm gonna take the Paramount contract." You know what I mean? So even though overall, yes, she was getting kind of tossed around by these men, she also was making certain decisions in spite of them and kind of to fuck with them. So I thought that was like I mean, I would like to think that I would just do whatever I wanted for as long as I wanted to,
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how I do my stuff now, but I don't think I have as much reckless abandon. And I think I plan for the future, a lot more. But I think when I was a lot younger, maybe like 10 years ago, yeah, that was how I lived my life. I did not care. I did not think about consequences. I just did whatever I wanted. But at the same time, like doing that gives you other consequences too.
Yeah. How would you communicate this to men? Because like that's one of the hard, like I'm ashamed to say it, but like I feel like on one hand it's like easy for me to empathize. Like I can understand how, like, to the extent I can, what she's going through for her. Like I can see the effects it has on her in the movie and like otherwise, and like that's not like, damn, that's rough, lady, like in that kind of way. And like, but the experience is sort of being obsessed over, I guess, in that way, is like something that's very alien to me and a lot of dudes, I think. So I'm like, that exploitation, if you had to, like, is there like a as someone who's closer to it, who's, you mentioned, has been obsessed with her or whatever, like, is there something else that you found in your life? Because I was trying to think of, like, I have a lot of regret about spending so many years already in the tech industry, like 10 years, and I feel like it's kind of wasted, and I feel like I've wasted a lot of time on it that I shouldn't have, for a variety of reasons. And the way that I specifically like worked in there is like the job role is like, it's not that, I don't know, it's weird. It's like I felt like exploited on a like a deep capitalism level, but not something that like where it was like I was obsessed. Like I don't think anyone was obsessed with me. In fact, I think a lot of people were hoping that I would just shut the fuck up like more, to be honest. But and so that I could like do the things that they wanted me to do. But I don't know. I mean, but I do think there is something about, I've noticed that both times I've gotten let go from a job in the tech industry, I think it has been because like I was sort of no longer letting him abuse me, which I think is interesting in like a way that like I
Yeah.
don't know, like
Discarded. You get
yeah,
discarded. Yeah.
like that was like the like. There's something that's why I really liked. I don't know if you've seen Sallow, that with
No.
Pasolini.
I'm
Hard
scared to
watch.
watch it. Yeah, I'm scared to watch
It's
it.
a bit of a hard watch. It'll make you very like anti-capitalist in a way. It's like it's just like a this is what they would do to us if they could is like kind of the point of the movie, which
Yeah.
I totally agree with. They would if they could get away with everything they do in Sallow, they would. Like the 1% and everything. But yeah, it's like that. I don't know. I felt like I think like I guess that I'm curious about that. Like, is maybe that's kind of an in, I guess, towards like an experience I maybe would be more personally familiar with is like the
Hmm.
sort of like transpositional abuse of like it, because that's also it's like they were obsessed with her, but on some level, it's like they almost were. It was like it's like a control thing. I don't know. It's like they want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So I guess like from your perspective, like, is there
Yeah.
something that you felt like close in one area of life of like that thing coming from dudes that would be helpful to
Yeah.
dudes of like who haven't experienced a direct obsession?
I mean, trying to think.
No, it's a hard question. I wonder if Robert Redford just passed away, and a lot of people were quoting the story. He has a very funny story of like why he didn't get cast for The Graduate because I can't remember. I think it was Mike Nichols, the director, was saying like he was like, yeah, I should really do this role, but Mike Nichols was like, I don't think you can understand this role because he's like, you've never had trouble with a woman. He's like, in Redford's like, what do you mean? And the director was like, well, have you ever like tried to ask a woman out and like she's totally rejected you and like just been not interested in you? And Redford's like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? That happens? It's like, oh, you look like Robert Redford. It's like that makes sense. You don't know what that is. So
No, I mean,
no.
I think the best, I can't really describe it. I don't know. Like, I think like what we're talking about with these films too, it's like they wanted to completely possess her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the reason that they end up hating her is because she is a rebellious person and she's not gonna just listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
She's not, a well-trained dog. Um, and I think that's kind of the problem with Alba in Pandora's Box, where his obsession is conflated with love.
Mm.
And I think that's kind of the only thing I can think of to say is that your obsession is not care or concern or love. It's inherently selfish
Mm.
and, concerned with your benefit. And you have to, I mean, it's so basic, but like you have to consider what the other person wants. Like, and if that other person doesn't want you, then you should probably just leave them alone. Like, and you
Yeah.
will like, you'll stop being obsessed with that person unless you have a serious mental illness where are hyper focused on another person. Like, you will eventually get over it, even if it
Mm-hmm.
takes like 2 or 3 years, at worst. But I mean, I
Yeah.
mean, it's just really like, are you even considering what the other person wants? Because I think in all of these movies, it's really like, what does Lulu want? What does Lulu want? What
Yeah.
does the girl from Something Wild want? What does Dorothy want from Star 80? We don't know. We don't find out. We don't
Yeah.
find out. The only thing we know they want really is like freedom from exploitation by men, which is a
Yeah.
very base want. I don't think that really tells us anything about what they want beyond that.
Yeah. It's almost like a Maslow's hierarchy of need things. It's like they're not even free to have their own. I'd be curious, like, if we could, like, does she talk about that in her autobiography? Like, does she go into like what she was sort of wanting out of the thing, or is it just like I didn't want
Well,
to be controlled by these people?
a lot of what she talks about in terms of like even why she went into acting was because she had an expensive clothing
Mm.
issue where she wanted a lot of expensive clothes and she she
Yeah.
couldn't get it. I think a lot of her things that she wanted in her
She wanted to
life,
shop. That's
she wanted
very.
to shop.
Yeah.
Literally, women be shopping and
I
she
was
wanted
about
to
to say.
shop. And there's nothing wrong with that,
Yeah.
she wanted to be with her friends. She wanted to be with people she found interesting. She wanted
She
to
wanted
have
to
a good time. I think that was
literally. I mean, she's almost the main.
motivation.
did she like hot chip? She wanted to eat hot chip,
Right.
lie,
And lie.
be
Yes.
bisexual, which she was,
Yes,
and
yes.
shop. So she's
Yes.
got 2 out of the 4.
This is what I'm saying. She was super
Yeah.
modern. Like she just wanted to have a good time. She didn't want to get married. She didn't want to settle down and have babies. She didn't
Yeah.
even care about her movie career. She didn't care about acting or anything like that. She just wanted I think she just wanted experiences and nice things, which I think is like I think it's pretty awesome. Like I think that's sick, you know?
Well, that's I mean, that's like I feel like that's like part of the crisis, I think, of like people not having kids, and like quote unquote crisis of people not having kids, and like relationships not. I think we are in a transition like where women more largely can do that, certainly more than like 100 years ago. I think like society does not necessarily realize, I don't think, like how many women want to be on their phone, eat hot chip, lie, be bisexual, and and shop or whatever. And like that's okay. That's sort of like that's what men have always been able to do, right?
That's
If
what
they
they've been
want.
doing.
Yeah, that's what we've been doing. So, but it's like if you have so many of those, then it's like, it's yeah. I mean, I think like there's also an attraction to that, I think. I mean, that's also like the thing where I also kind of empathize with like the guys who do the Manic Pixie Dream Girl movies, and even like get obsessed with Louise Brooks, because like, I was in a 11-year relationship, out at like a year or so ago, and the experience on Hinge has been, I think I've talked about it a whole bunch. It's been, up and down, let's say. But like part of the big thing that I didn't, I used to kind of laugh at my buddy's stories. My buddy's one of my best friends, this gay guy, and East Tennessee is not a great
No,
great place if you're like if you're like especially like he's got it worse because he's like a super leftist, like kind of like kind of weirdo gay guy, and like so he's always complaining.
Bro.
I'm sorry.
He needs to move.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to work on it. Yeah. If you want to do, ladies out there, if you want to do kind of like a Misfits type situation where you want to be Marilyn Monroe, and you live in like, we're hoping to move to like a blue state. So if you're in a blue state and you want like 3-4 weirdo kind of, possibly on their way to dying dudes come live with you and have that type of situation, we can accommodate, my ladies.
How imminent is your death though, and will you put them on your benefits? That's the other question.
Yeah. I'll if I get a job, I'll provide healthcare. Sure.
Okay, there you go. There you go. You got a good deal.
I'll do that at least. Yeah.
I think to your question though, in terms of what we're talking about women not having kids, I mean, I personally have been in certain relationships where, people treated me exactly like this. They wanted to, possess and control me entirely while also mistreating me. And I feel like I got to a certain point where I was like, if I just rather be alone. Like I just rather be alone than like endure that kind. And I think a lot of people feel that way, men and women. It's like you just rather be alone than endure that kind of like treatment from somebody else. And I think that's also the problem, is that like people don't know how to act and they don't know how to treat each other nicely. I mean, it sounds super simple, but I really think a lot of it is that women are just kind of like, my own company and my family's company and my friend's company is much better than spending it in a man's company, because like we were talking about, it's the straight woman's dilemma. You're attracted to your greatest danger. And I think a lot of women are just like, I'm just gonna opt out at this point. Like I'm not even gonna engage. Like I'm satisfied by myself,
Yeah. I'm like on the similar, like on the opposite end of the spectrum. Like there was a funny tweet last night I saw that was talking about, it was some woman saying like, they were not making fun, but they were kind of slightly poking fun about like this lady posted, I think it was a TikTok that was like, when you're at a concert and they play the song that led you to like diagnosing, like to getting diagnosed as like a diagnosed late as an autistic lady and also come out as asexual. And it's like, she was like, emotional because they played, I can't remember, I don't know what the song was, just a screenshot, but it was like asexual and like late diagnosed autistic. And someone on Twitter posted like, this is the experience of like every man born like 88 to 95 with the movie Punch Drunk Love. And I was like, it's like, damn, am I asexual? And like, cause like definitely the late diagnosis thing, I was like, it took me years, but like the, I don't know, there's something like the thing is like, I totally get the attraction to like the Louise Brooks or the Melanie Griffith, because like there's a filter on it of like, my experience with it has been like, when I first got out, I was kind of like open. I was like, I don't know what I like. I don't know this, that, the other thing. But like, then there's the experience of like, okay, you got to be interesting. So like with my gay friend, he was making fun of like the Harry Potter gays or like the Office gays, as he calls them, where it's just like so many profiles he had to scroll through of just like their summation is just like, oh, what house are you in Harry Potter? And like, I'm looking for the Pam to my Jim or the Jim to my Pam, except gay. And like, that's what he started. It was like, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you're like that, nothing wrong with that. I'm not blaming you, but that's just not what like his thing was.
I'm
like,
blaming you. I'm
yeah, Isabel's
no.
judging you.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I didn't fully understand until I got on and like, that is the like, the straight guy thing around here is like now it's the Travis to my Kelsey. Which like, or not the Travis to my Kelsey, the Travis to my Taylor, Travis Kelsey to my Taylor, or like the Jason to my Kylie, I guess would be his like brother and sister-in-law or whatever, which again, I like both those guys. I think, they're fine. I've always been a fan of Taylor Swift. Shout out.
I get it though. I mean, I think a lot of people are just not interesting.
Well, that's the problem. You got to be interesting in a way that like Louise Brooks is interesting. Like whatever else she was interesting. And I think she was like the first woman to be more interested, like not the first woman, but she was like, she was a woman that was more interested in being herself and therefore interesting than she was in potentially surviving. And as the Criterion copy says, it had a devastating effect on men around them, I think, because like, she was just so flatly interesting and just like being herself. But then there's the thing I've also found of like, it's that I feel like this is where I criticize the Manic Pixie Dream stuff, is like, it's also like where I understand it, because like you want the woman to be interested in you, but I think by doing it they tend to dehumanize them and like make them not interesting. Like that's the issue with a lot of the Manic Pixie Dream girls. Like where I remember when watching Garden State or 500 Days of Summer or like otherwise, it's like, or even like Something Wild, it's like I don't think that like I'm not necessarily interested in like, I don't know who Melanie Griffith is enough to be interesting. Like
interesting. I don't
the whole time I'm like she drinks and she's like very sexual. It's like that's cool, but it's like maybe I'm just getting old. But it's like, is that like is that a relationship? Like,
well, I think that's the thing, is like that's enough for a lot of people to find someone interesting. Like they don't require any emotional
it's all men are that's really dark
or depth, like they don't really need anything beyond that. And I think more women need something beyond that than most men. Like you're saying, like I think most men are generally fine with just you being a little freaky and hot. Like I don't think I don't think they have a lot of requirements. I don't think they need you to be smart or empathetic or anything like internal, I
that
don't know,
sucks.
man. Yeah. I think we're talking about this, and I think the reason too that Louise Brooks is so interesting is because she's very much, even though she's constrained by like the time and these men, like she's very much a free bird, and it's almost this instinctual thing where these men see that kind of inherent freedom and sense of self, and they want to cage it for themselves. And I just feel like that's a theme with all of these movies. I mean, probably less Something Wild, but definitely Pandora's Box and Star 80. So
well, it's interesting that is also the thing that like in my experience, and also just like I think in general common sort of, that's like the classic joke about men and women is like, it's the old ball and chains, or it's like men complain about that so much of like, and like honestly you'll see that in like relationship shit too, of just like, it's the classic thing of like the woman version of this is like, you have this very interesting guy that you meet, and then you just turn him into like this dad, like a polo wearing church going dad or something. Like that's and men complain about that, where it's just like, oh, she doesn't. And that was a complaint I've had. It's like where I've ended like Hinge relationships, certainly in the past year. I remember like multiple, to be honest, multiple ones where like I'm trying to be autistic about movies, and like I can just tell they're not interested.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, this ain't going to work. And I'm not expecting him to be like totally like, you know, I want like a podcast guest or something, but I want to discuss.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I said like at least humor me, you know? Like at least pretend to follow along. And like I sometimes, I think back on certain relationships I've had with people, and I'm like, what did this person really know about me? Like, what aspect of myself did they truly understand? And I really can't say a lot of them. Like, definitely one or two, were like nice people. Like, probably more than that, but like, what did they really understand about me? I was still, just an idea to them, like Louise and Dorothy and not
an achievement.
Yeah, he would have been an Italian.
I wonder if gaming, you were playing, well, not to put your shit on blast in public, but Isabel was playing Stardew Valley before the episode as I was late. But I wonder if achievement culture has there's like game. I don't know. Maybe you probably don't care. I don't really care, but like some part of me cares somewhat in the achievement. I'm playing the new Hollow Knight Silk Song. Shout out.
Yeah. Love it. I want to play that, but I don't have a. I just have a Switch, so I'm kind of like, it's going to be lame on Switch.
I think it's probably fine. It's like I think I played the first one on Switch.
Oh,
but definitely that achievement. That was one in my short. I tried to go. I'd be curious about like the medium, like I made my first short while I was still in the long-term relationship. And I kind of, it's about like people making their ideal AI partners. So it's like in getting obsessed with them.
Yeah.
So like which by the time you listen to this, I don't know when this is coming out, the recut might be out on my channel or not, or coming soon. So by the time this comes out, but
nice.
That was the thing I thought like and even honestly, it's been reinforced by being on Hinge of like, I don't know, the idea of sort of like the whole, like the medium is the message thing of like the technology having an effect on society and the way we communicate. It's like when I got on Hinge, it's like the onboarding was like, what distance or can people be? What's your minimum height? Like, or maximum height. I think it's minimum height. Like, what's your minimum maximum age?
Yeah.
Like, first of all, and I think it's weird that as a 34, 35-year-old, as I was getting on it, they let me, I think you can set down to like
18.
I don't know how young you can set it.
I think you can set it down to 18, probably.
Yeah. That's crazy, I think. Yeah. I mean, no offense to anyone out there if you're in like this, like legitimate May, December type thing, but like, that's strange.
How many times would I be on there when I was single and be like, some 30-year-old dude, he wants a girl who's like 18 to 24. And I'm like, why? Why?
The girl I went to prom with in my junior year was my friend's sister. I went because she couldn't bring her boyfriend because she was 17, I think, and he was 31. So, okay, yeah. Oh, I was just, yeah. He showed up, and I remember like I showed up in my little tux to their house because I was friends with these kids. Shout out my boys. I don't want to put them too on blast because whatever, but like I showed up, and this guy like he had like a goatee. I mean, he looked like a coach. He looked like a football coach, and he was just like, "How you doing, brother?" I'm like, "Good, man. I'm taking his air out." And he's like, "Yeah, you guys have a good time." Oh, I just said her name. I should probably I'll bleep that. But like, yeah, he was a nice guy. I mean, to me, he was just like he didn't do anything weird of like, don't. He wasn't like Ray Liotta in Something Wild. He was like legitimate. Right. He's like y'all have a good time. Go see a movie. Do whatever you do. And I was like, oh, thanks, man. I'll have her back by midnight.
Yeah,
it wasn't. He knew that I was just like. This is also when I was just like, I was like the biggest nerd in high school. So he's just like, there's no. He's like, it honestly offends me now of like being. It's crazy to think that I'm like closer in age to him now that I was in like at that time.
Yeah. But no, like, that's happened to me too when I like was in my mid-20s, early 20s, I would turn that age and I would be like, oh my God, like, why was this person even speaking to me when I was in high school? Like, I'm 22. I don't want to
Yeah.
speak to anyone who's 18. Like, what? What do you mean? We're talking.
Yeah.
How are we even having a conversation? Like, what do you mean? You know? So,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's
Very
all.
common.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of what Louise Brooks was talking about in her autobiography too. Is like, you know, she'd be in the Follies backstage. She's like 17, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's all these. She's like, this is what these men in Hollywood did. You know, they wanted power so they would have access to young girls and sex. You know, and
Yeah.
it's still it's still true. It's still a
Yeah.
same thing. You know, um,
Yeah.
it's sick, man. It's super sick.
Do you think that's been, so it's like, I definitely think it's better because of like the general women's liberation movement that guys who look like me are trying to roll back right now. Hope you're ready for your Handmaid's Tale. All my lady viewers, get
Bro,
ready.
wait.
Hope you, yeah.
I freaked out the other day because I thought they were gonna like completely cut birth control. And I'm calling my OBGYN. I'm like, when did I get my IUD and when can I get a new one? Can I come in and get a new one today? Please. And they're like,
Yeah.
you're good. I'm like, I don't know, man. No, I know.
It's legit a thing about like not wanting to, like, I wouldn't feel comfortable having, like, I can't ask a woman to have a pregnancy in Tennessee. I don't think that's like, I legitimately don't think it's like, I
No,
don't think that's ethical.
no, it's not.
It'd be ethical for me
Not.
because I could probably prevent her at this point from leaving state lines, you know? I mean, so not ethical, but like, you know,
No,
yeah,
totally. You have all
I
the
could have my own Louise
in that
Brooks.
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in Florida. Like, I don't even know what my options are. I just assume there are none.
I'm
So,
never going back to that state ever. Yeah. No offense to
but it's so
Florida.
pretty here. It's so
It's more of a
pretty.
personal thing. Yeah. I think and I don't mean to say this, but I think it's like the drain of the country. I don't mean to
Oh
offend
yeah.
you by saying that, but like, it's
Mhm.
like every state sends like their craziest people and assholes there, except you.
Oh
You seem
my
very
God.
nice, but yeah.
When we listen to like true crime stuff or like scammer stuff, like we listen to a couple podcasts, we're like, okay, how long is it going to take them to mention Florida? And
Yeah.
then without fail, every single episode, they're somehow in Miami or they're somehow in Florida, and we're like, this is just what happens here. This is
Yeah.
how the state works. Like,
It's the most concentrated form of America in Florida. It's the most American of all
yeah,
the states. It's like
yeah, it is.
it's the thing that's like the least amount of planning, the most amount of like growth, the
Yeah,
most amount of like, let's not pay attention to anything like 4 months later.
don't
It's
even
like,
get
I'm
me
surprised they have
started on that,
building codes
dude.
there.
You're surprised at
Yeah.
what?
I'm surprised they even have building codes there.
Oh,
Like,
they don't.
yeah, yeah. I know they're trying to,
Right,
yeah.
wrong.
It's like, it's everything about America in that like we don't think about consequences and like we have to suffer in order to do it. It's like the state just being sort of a hurricane magnet and
That's
just
kind
getting
of
battered.
it's kind of like Louise, right? She just did whatever she wanted,
Yeah.
and then there were
Yeah.
consequences.
Louise would be in Miami today. Yeah,
She would definitely be in Miami.
she'd be in OnlyFans
Yeah, she might be
proportionally.
on OnlyFans collecting
You
that
know,
cash, bro.
she'd be an OnlyFans like crypto influencer who's like dating a series of like tech guys who are moving down there from San Francisco because San Francisco's too woke now
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah.
I
Or
don't,
she'd
I
just be
don't,
like a professor somewhere writing. Like the
yeah,
actual Louise
the
Brooks would be.
actual
Lulu
room.
Lulu would be
Yeah.
in Miami. Louise Brooks would
Yes.
be. Yeah.
I don't think Lulu would have the discipline to do an OF. There's like a
She'd
decent
be getting
amount of work.
pimped. It'd be the old guy. It'd be
It was
like
the old guy.
it'd be Star 80. I mean, that's like
Yeah.
what Eric Roberts did, right? He's like, you got to do Playboy so we can make money. So this time it'd be an old Eric Roberts type.
What broke my heart in Star 80, I mean, aside from like the gruesome murder, obviously, was her being like, can we just go back to Vancouver? Like, can we just
Oh
go back to
God.
Vancouver? Like, that was probably the only want that
Yeah.
I saw in that movie was that she wanted out. Like, she
Yeah.
wanted to leave, you know?
She wanted. I felt bad for her too because there's like and not trying to be insulting because like so this is different the character than the Playboy the actual person seemed very intelligent and like, you know, like desiring to improve. Like she was very motivated. Like that's why I think the movie didn't totally get her. In
Yeah.
or in the movie, I feel like she's kind of a dumb girl, but like in a way that like I've learned to have not learned. This sounds terrible. Like there's a certain category of movies, the movies that Connie Stevens is in. She's in these movies. This movie of Susan Slade, where a baby gets set on fire in the 60s. It's like this big melodrama. It's really good. But she plays these Connie Stevens. She's like if you've seen Mulholland Drive, probably she's the one who sings 16 Reasons. The singer of that song was an actress, in like, in the late 50s, early 60s. But bless her heart, she was she was just not smart. Like her characters, she seemed to just play a series of like successive dumb women. But like that archetype of like the sort of like kind of dumb, attractive, I don't want to say bimbo, but like sort of the way they present Dorothy Stratton in the movie. I end up having like Connie Stevens' performances in some of the movies like really sort of like turned me, because like you could call it, like some people would call them like melodramatic or bad, but she's just playing a dumb lady, and like those people deserve empathy and love and like non-abuse too, almost even more so than anybody else, because like they're pretty dumb. But like I think about like I worked it with these ladies, like some of these ladies at like Papa John's. There's this like one notoriously, like I worked with like one of the most notoriously stupid people in East Tennessee. Not at Papa John's, at a different place, because I don't want to dox her, but like she was so stupid that like I met someone from another county that like was like, "Oh, you work with that lady?" Like, damn, like she was like, and not in like a mentally challenged way. She was just like,
she's just not
like
smart.
Every blonde joke, and she was this blonde lady, and like I always felt bad for her in some way, because like she just couldn't parse things on like a basic level, in just a strange way. But like I don't know, that's like, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I just like I feel worse for her because of that.
I feel like I know exactly what you're talking about, because there's this one scene in Star 80, right, where they're all sitting around, they're like, dude, like, you have to leave this guy. Like, this guy is like, it's like evil as fuck, and we hate him, and you should hate him too. And she's like, what are you talking about? You know, and she doesn't even seem to be saying it in like a, not, I don't know, like a survivor way, where she's kind of like, oh no, guys, like it's fine. Like she's literally laughing and being like, you guys, like you guys are so funny, you know, like, oh my god, he would never do anything to me, blah blah blah. And it's like they're looking at her, they're like, what are you not getting here? You know what I mean? And that's kind of, I feel like that's kind of what you mean, like what you're talking about, where it's like there's this kind of combination between not being super smart, because you don't have to be. You don't have to be super smart, you know? Like, it's fine. No one cares. But it's also like this naivete. I mean, he was like, what, the second man she had ever been with, ever?
Yeah.
You know,
the first
like,
was a fumbling football player that he stabs with like a penknife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. But it's like, how are you, like, I don't know. It's also just like the condition of being abused too, where you just are in such denial, right? Because you're trying to survive. But just the way she acted in that scene was so like flippant. It's like it was really, you know, like truly, what do you not understand about how dire this situation is? You know, so
it's real goddamn shame.
Yeah.
I think Louise is that way. I think like even last night when I was watching The Misfits, Marilyn Monroe kind of has a bunch of that in which is sad for her, because I think like Louise Brooks, she was like a very intelligent, like she was like a method actor, like very into acting and like all this, and but she is like the ultimate example, right, of being like an object and kind of ruining her life and like forced into sing. I mean, that movie was written by her husband, I think, as a, I think, quote unquote love letter to her, like for her, but like Arthur Miller, but like he did that by making her a dumb bitch, basically. I don't mean to be pejorative, but like
no, that again is that relationship too is another prime example of like sexual obsession, but like it's fueled by hatred and disgust.
Yeah.
Like, he hated her. Like, I'm sorry, you can't tell me that he didn't hate her. Like,
well,
I think he hated her like as much as Joe DiMaggio, who like literally beat the crap out of her.
Yeah. Yeah, like how would you feel if like your husband or boyfriend or whatever wrote a whole movie to you, a love letter, and he just cast you as a huge dumb bitch? And it's like that would be like that'd just be strange, right? Like if I had a girlfriend, wife, and she was like, I wrote this movie as a love letter to you
And you'd look
so
like
that
an
you can play this
asshole.
character because you'd knock it out of the park, and it's just some like fat, disgusting, like lazy asshole guy, I'd be like, how, like, this is kind of strange. Not that I'm not that personally, but like, it's just like, yeah, that's a weird.
I mean, I think
Yeah,
at that point in her life, Marilyn was just so like beaten down that, she
yeah,
wouldn't have the same reaction you or I or like a healthier person would have to be like, what the
yeah,
hell? Like, why are you talking about me like this? And you think this is nice? Like, that's so
yeah.
confusing, I think she was so used to like being put in this same box, like Louise Brooks and all of them. She was just so numb to it at that point.
It's tragic.
You know.
Has there been a good movie? Like, yeah, I mean, I might have asked this earlier, but has there been like a good movie from these ladies' perspective? Like, has there been a good movie by or done from the perspective of a woman who is getting obsessed over? I'm trying to think of like maybe a horror movie might like, but even that's
I
not even
mean,
in like the same way.
I don't know. Honestly,
Have you seen The Blue Angel? That was actually one
oh, a long
1930.
time ago.
That was one. That's Marlene Dietrich actually in the similar role. That was the one I actually showed when I showed my film in public. It was like it's 40 minutes, so we showed it with a movie, and the movie we played after was The Blue Angel, which is like a college professor getting so obsessed with a dancer that he throws his life away and becomes like a sick clown. Um, over Marlene Dietrich,
I just
which I
remember
get.
her singing. That's all I remember from that movie because it's so like iconic.
It's good. Yeah, he's like a professor, and like his students are getting obsessed with Marlene Dietrich, and then he's like, "What are you guys doing?" So he goes to see her, and then he gets more obsessed than any of them, and like, yeah,
Hmm.
it's pretty dark. I think around the same year as Pandora's Box,
Yeah, that's a
1930.
year after. Yeah,
Yeah.
you should really watch Diary of a Lost Girl too.
Okay.
Because that one,
Oh, right, right, right.
yeah, that one I definitely relate to a lot more than Pandora's Box.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think she's really good in that one too. And I think it's more varied, I think, than Pandora's Box. I feel like Pandora's Box is very like linear. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like boom, 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 boom.
Mm.
Whereas I think Diary has more of a, I don't know, I guess like an up and down curve instead.
Mm. I did say earlier Blue Steel is one, but that's also because Catherine Bigelow is like a bit of a voyeur herself. I think I forgot
Yeah.
to finish that point like an hour or two ago, but that is definitely like Jamie Lee Curtis is a rookie cop who's getting obsessed with by a serial killer, but because it's Bigelow, she's portraying it from Jamie Lee Curtis's perspective mostly. Although I think like I'd be curious how much the studio is involved because like, but it is like a violent obsession with her from the serial killer guy played by Ron Silver from like a bunch of stuff, The West Wing. Yeah, I'll probably talk about that movie because she's got a new one coming out. Shout out Catherine Bigelow. But I did that for an earlier podcast, that American Beauty. Actually, American Beauty is another one that's famously directed by a lady about like, I don't even know if that's male. I mean, he's kind of just alienated from everybody. I don't even know if he's like, it's got elements of it, but.
I mean, he's kind of like.
Or did I say American Beauty, American Psycho?
Oh, American Psycho.
American Psycho, yeah. I haven't seen
Yeah,
American Beauty in a long
he's
time.
not. I don't know what he's. I mean, I guess he's obsessed with murder, like, or obsessed with himself. I mean,
Yeah,
it's definitely a lot of obsession theme in
yeah,
that. It's just not like directed towards, I think, like a person,
yeah,
specifically.
yeah.
But
I
that's
think
a
it's towards himself. You're right.
yeah.
Damn. This is a depressing episode. Sorry if you've listened to this long.
I know.
Yeah.
I was just like, what are you going to title this? Like the exploitation of women across the last 100 years.
That's good. You know, I've thought about titling them. I haven't been titling them. I kind of, because I've just been putting like the names of the movies
Yeah.
in them, because like just I don't know, it's just what I've been doing. So I might start putting subtitles. But yeah, this is just like the exploitation of women by, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the
by evil men,
yeah.
by evil men for being themselves.
Watch as I tell Isabel how she feel how women should feel about yeah. Isabel gets mansplained to about obsession. Yeah. No, I don't know. I mean, I genuinely like, yeah, it's just more of like the perspective thing on this thing is killing me. Like ever since I watched Star 80 of like, and then like even just reinforced in this movie and all the marketing of it and everything, it's just like, it seems like the perspective choice is so totally warped and off from what it should be because of them, because it's just always been just such a male dominated field. And like, even though I think even like, I think Pabst, it's weird to say as he was sleeping with her so that, you know, or as she was sleeping with him to get a role, as he was forcing her to basically sleep with him so she could get a role, he was still examining.
The way she phrases it is that she initiated it and that he had never made any passes towards her. But I agree, if he was an actually good man, he would have been like, no, let's not do that, right?
Yeah.
But yes, no. Sorry. Continue.
Again, it's like having the Doritos in the house. If I have set up the Doritos to be in my house, it's like, who's really at fault now, right? It's like, you know, well, they gave me these Doritos. You don't have to eat them, you know? It's like,
and it's kind of sad too, because I think prior to that point, he had more of like a, you know, fatherly, you know, mentor type.
More of a Hefnerian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
father in the same way. He went from Hefner to Eric Roberts, kind of, I guess, is the, yeah. But I think he's criticizing it, and I think Fosse's criticizing his own self and his own like voyeuristic look at women and probably his own treatment of women.
Yeah.
I think in the movie, there's self-critical movies, I think, but still that's the only, I just think maybe it's just like the thing of like, even like the Manic Pixie Dream Girl, it's like, I don't think a woman coming into your life and being interested in you being sad, it's like, that's a fine perspective and it says something about you, and like, you can make a movie about whatever, but if that's the only movies you get, then like, in the only people making movies, I still just, it's like, it shouldn't be, I can think of, I've been like looking at this list or like keeping track of the recommendations, like Misfits, Blue Angel, Peeping Tom, Susan Slade, The Hanging Tree, Luna, Punch Drunk Love. Like all these are sort of like in this kind of vague area. I can just instantly name off the top of my head of like movies about obsessing over a woman from a male's perspective, and you know, what sort of a woe is me, how bad is that type of thing, or like even self-criticism. But the one movie I can think that's like, we're trying to think of like movies that where it's the opposite.
What about The Piano Teacher?
I haven't seen it. Is that?
Oh my god. Okay.
Is that from a lady's perspective?
I mean, I don't think it's a female director, but it's basically like this piano teacher. Yeah, she becomes obsessed with her student, and then I don't want to give you spoilers if you're gonna watch it, but yeah, I mean, she like becomes she's literally sexually obsessed with her student. Like that's pretty much the whole movie. So I don't know. And then he rejects her after a certain point, and then stuff happens. But it's a really rudimentary explanation.
Well, I mean, I'd be curious watching it, is like, because it was written and directed by a dude. I haven't seen any of his movies. I've heard, you know, good things about him, but like,
that's the only one I can think of though. Like that's,
but that's even still a woman obsessing over.
I'm
wondering about like a woman being obsessed over, or even a dude being obsessed over,
like one stalked,
basically, like, but from their perspective in a way that actually is from the perspective, and it's not like making the audience complicit or like, you know, self-criticizing.
Yeah.
Even like, I guess Halloween, like, that was what I was thinking, like slasher movies or something.
Yeah, I'm like trying to, I know. I mean, and that's not really a, you know.
Yeah, and I don't even think he's necessarily obsessed with her.
No.
Yeah, I think he's just like,
he's just a murderer.
Yeah.
Like scary.
Damn, I can't think of any. But that's like, I think that's the issue of like the issue I have with all these is like, I don't know. There's just a lost perspective. It's just the movie doesn't seem to have been made
No,
almost.
no.
And that seems really bad considering you have like Louise Brooks as a brilliant writer, Dorothy Stratton as like a
Yeah.
very intelligent. I mean, I don't think Something Wild is based on anyone, but you have this interesting woman in Melanie Griffith that like kind of has her story told a little bit, but
Yeah.
yeah, it
I
shouldn't
think
just be like her
I
how
think
Jeff
Diary
Daniels
of a
feels about
Lost
her.
Girl definitely has more of like an actual story for her herself
Mm-hmm.
than Pandora's Box, and it is more. I mean, it's still a little voyeuristic for sure, but it feels like it has more of her actual perspective on the things that happened to her. And her like it's more like experiential instead of like us watching Pandora's Box and not really knowing, what she's really thinking or feeling most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's a good one.
I wonder if Dorothy Arzner did anything. I mean, she was like the only lady director of the 30s, I think. And I think I did a video on it. There's a scene in Christopher Strong where it's sort of like 50 years ahead of like Judith Butler and sort of the whole gender as performance thing. She shows the lady in the movie just sort of like she's sitting there despondent over her husband cheating on her with Katharine Hepburn. But then like as he knocks, she like goes like that, like, and just sort of puts on her femininity and her wifehood in a way that
Yeah,
like is so radically like I've never seen that moment in a movie like prior to like
right.
1970 of like just sort of like the construction of like being the good little wife where it's like very clearly from the wife's perspective.
Mhm.
Um
Like putting on the mask, basically.
Putting on the mask. Yeah, putting on the
Yeah.
mask because of this thing that someone expects on you,
Mhm.
which we get very little of in a private way I think from Louise Brooks. I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
like are there like any scenes like there's a scene where she's just her.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean, I feel like the closest to that is the scene I was talking about before, where she goes back to the house and is
Mhm.
just like doing whatever. She's not performing for anyone. She's not waiting for anyone. She's just
Yeah.
herself in the house, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
It's like the one scene.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like her. It's like she's like mediating. Like the rest of it is either like mediated through the
Yeah.
scenes with like dudes and like their feelings as like sort of the tension point of the thing,
Uh-huh.
or it's not like showing her like how she planned or engaged to construct herself to be in this way. I think in certain like I don't know perspective that's missing. I guess
Yeah. I mean,
sadly.
it's all the rest of it, or most of the rest of it is all stuff that's happening around her or happening to her.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's not really
Yeah.
like, what is she doing? What would she want to do here? You know? Um,
Yeah.
I wish she had gotten more like complex roles. I think she really could have been someone like a Dietrich or a Garbo, really.
Hmm.
I think she had that ability, and I think she would have been amazing. But I just did not I just did
She
not.
was too free.
I think she was too free, and I don't think as the studio system was getting set up too, I mean, she just wasn't, she was too free. She wasn't disciplined in terms of,
Hmm.
oh, I need to do this and that and this and that so I can be prepared for set. I think it was more I'm gonna go to bed at 4 a.m. and I'll show up on set when I show up on set.
Hmm.
And I think something else too that really worked against her was a lot of the things she wrote about too. She said, "I hated the forced camaraderie between the cast.
Mm.
We were just coworkers. I didn't want to be your friend. I didn't want to have to pretend to be happy to see you,"
She
which
was a
I
pro.
really appreciate. I really
Yeah,
appreciate.
I get that. Yeah, yeah,
She didn't play the game too. She wasn't interested in playing the game and like trying to
yeah.
keep up, and that ultimately worked against her. So,
Yeah, at the first tech company I was at, I remember like that was like, I not knock on wood, but I did like okay for myself, whatever. But like there was this thing, like a lot of them were like ex like they were like actively like it was really big in the tech and it still is to like be big into fitness and everything. So they were constantly talking about like working out. It's like when we go to a conference, it's like, oh, we let's get up early and go for a jog. And I'm like, first of all, I'm not getting up early. But second of all, I'm not fucking running. Like I'm just not gonna do that. Like I'll try and like, but it was like a thing of like, you know, that's how they bonded.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people who did that like got, you know, opportunities or elsewise, but it's like, I'm not doing that. Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not here to fucking run.
I think she was so charming, right? So she did make friends with basically, you know, most important people that she encountered. Like she left a good impression on them most of the time. Or
Mm-hmm.
unless she was like in a mood and then she was rude and no one liked no one was happy to be around her. But I don't think she was um like she did that kind of networking. I don't think she did the kind of networking in terms of like, oh, are you gonna get me this part? Oh, do you know this person who can be my agent, et cetera, et cetera. It was more networking of like, you know where the best party is, you know where to get drugs. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't like it wasn't professionally driven at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Damn. Shout out all the women who had to go through that. You know, sorry for you. Sorry that we're doing it again to you soon. You know,
Sus,
my
bro.
bad. Our bad. Yeah. Time to move to a blue state or potentially a blue country,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess.
get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just leave.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what else you guys? Or anything else you wanted to? Anything on your?
I'm
We
out of
covered
notes.
Louise. We're out of notes. Okay,
I know. Yeah, I just wanted to show you what. Yeah, look how cool this book is.
that's great.
Isn't that
I love
great?
that.
The
Yeah,
spine is kind of messed up, but I found it in New York for like $10, and it's first edition. So I'll
that's
probably
awesome.
sell it when I have money.
We've succeeded. We've now also turned Lulu into an object that
Yes,
we're gonna sell.
a
Yeah,
monetary value. No,
even just
never.
doing a podcast on her, right? I mean, you know.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, and especially with Dorothy, it's like now because she really can't speak for herself. Will she'll forever be like
Oh, I think
like she will always be a commodity.
yeah. Oh, you're back. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
So,
okay. Yeah. No,
um,
you're good. Yeah, yeah, she's a commodity, and I hate that. I mean, that's honestly the biggest thing I hate about Star 80 is that like that is the definitional portrait of her, and I just feel like that's very unfair in a
yeah.
way, and it's in a way that is still like I don't know, still re-objectifying her, having watched it and having it be made as like the thing of like that is like every time I feel like that movie is almost viewed, it sort of like re-traumatizes her spirit in some kind of way, which is why it's evil.
I mean, I don't I don't think there's like any way that you can view, especially the murder scene, as like respectful to her because it's so
Yeah,
inherently violent, like and graphic and probably accurate as to what happened. But I mean, even just like that the end shot where his body's over here and her body's over here, it's like talk
yeah,
about dehumanizing. Like now she's just a a dead body. You know,
yeah,
like if they really wanted to like do a respectful kind of movie about her, which I don't think that was like really the concern, but they could have easily just like cut that out. Like where he closes the door,
yeah.
they could have like left it there, you know. But
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, it's in a way, you know, as I brought up Bigelow, in a way, it's weirdly connected to Bigelow for me as I brought up like Blue Steel because like she famously did the Hurt Locker. She's the first woman to win Best Director Oscar. I think only 90 years after 80 years after the Oscars started was the first woman to win Best Director, I believe. I think it was like
mm,
all the way until 2008. Um, but has come under criticism rightly or wrongly for doing the Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30 as kind of um like sort of uncritically kind of recounting like especially in Zero Dark 30 with like the torture scenes and everything.
yeah,
Now, I think what she was doing was kind of a Star 80 thing of just like I think the movie has aged well. Well, part of it is like the story's potentially allegedly complete bullshit, like just the whole how we got bin Laden because of the reporting about like Seymour Hersh who broke like the My Lai
right,
massacre and all that, but like the way like she got criticized by like people for depicting it, I think the movie sort of kind of shows that how horrible it was and that it doesn't actually lead to information. But a lot of people said like by depicting this, you are sort of like leaning into it and like show it, like you're kind of like sanctioning it or doing this, or like, you know, tacitly approving it or showing that like it could work or like et cetera,
Yeah,
et cetera. But
I get that. But
I do get
yeah,
it. But
yeah,
Star 80, I think it's the same as Star 80, where it's like, I think what the guy did was so horrific. And what he did effectively do was he wanted to permanently tie their stars together, their quote unquote stars
yeah,
together, by doing this like the most gruesome, even the way he did it, I think like led into it of like doing something so gruesome and over the top and horrific that it brought him and her to the same level. And that's what he wanted to do. So like her being known for that as opposed to anything else sort of brings her like kind of, that's what he wanted. So it's like watching the movie is almost like a success of that. So yeah, there's something, I don't know, there's something like
yeah,
that's deeply bad about that I feel bad about. But I think like Bigelow in the same way could be criticized for the other thing. I don't know.
yeah. I
Just
mean,
gross.
I feel like it's different with Bigelow though because it was like a politically relevant cultural event, whereas like this was just to me like an
Mm,
act of violence committed against one person.
yeah.
Um, but I mean, you can if we're looking at it through the perspective of like, hey, don't be like this guy, like maybe the idea was that showing it so graphically would be more of a warning than just, not showing it at all. But
Hmm.
still not my
Well,
favorite.
you know, people had criticism of Oppenheimer on that. My brothers and my friends really like, I was like the only one out of my little group that really loved Oppenheimer. Um, and part of the criticism they had was because they showed the nuclear bomb scene. And then basically, like, I'm going to make a whole video about this, but like Oppenheimer is sort of more, he's equally concerned with like his bureaucratic security clearance reputation as he is about fucking 60,000 people dying and
Yeah.
you know, launching the age of the nuclear age and like what he did. And it's like,
Mhm.
but that is in my experience like pretty similar to a lot of people who do this situation, who in those situations, it's like the bombing and the death is like so remote that like, yeah, he's like tore up about it for a little while, but like practical things, he's like, damn, am I going to keep the security clearance? Is my reputation going to be okay? And it's like, well, that's accurate to how he thought probably. Like he didn't really think about those people, which is as fucked up and horrifying as it is. Like that is an accurate, like I think the portrayal does get at something like
Mhm.
true, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah,
Who's
I
to
think it's just like,
say?
yeah, in the absence of not having the other thing, like the opposite of like who
Yeah.
Dorothy Stratton was in her story, I think
Right.
that's like the, yeah. Same thing with Louise Brooks. Same thing with Marilyn Monroe. Same thing with, because I haven't seen the. Did you watch the new Monroe movie, Blonde? I mean, that was the thing. I've heard it
No.
also went to. I've heard
No.
it went to similar sort of. I like that director, but I've heard like it kind of has a similar thing of like maybe being a bit of a male perspective on it,
I
or at
just
least
like
like someone who's obsessed with her.
I feel like I shy away from watching things like that at this point because I just especially with Monroe, I guess, I'm just like, can we just let her go? Like, cause again, it's just another monetization of her.
Yeah,
And it's just I understand why it happens, and, like, I haven't seen the movie, so I can't say, "Oh, it was good or it was bad or is it exploitative or not." I just I just don't watch them anymore because 'cause I'm just like, "Okay, like, I
yeah,
know, like, I get it, like, can we just leave her alone? Like, and leave
yeah.
Britney alone type stuff, like, just, um, but that's just my
I feel
opinion.
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, I feel bad. Like one of my first big videos was just kind of going through Gene Tierney's outfits and Leave Her to Heaven and being like, yeah, yeah, it's like she is one of the best dressed ladies, one of the most beautiful ladies ever to live, but like she also was haunted. That was like the haunt of her life was that she was just that. And so like, am I, by making videos about her, it's like, I really love her. And I make sure and like, specifically, you know, genuinely, like I don't want to be one of those people. I mean, that's the other classic joke. It's like, oh yeah, lead Playboy for the articles. But like I watch Gene Tierney movies for the plots. It's like,
Yeah,
well, I'm not gonna lie in that I just love seeing her aesthetically. Like I can't, that wouldn't be honest of me to say otherwise, but
Yeah.
like she also is like, I think, a brilliant actress. And like you can see her demons come out on screen in a way that like, in the way places that she's able to go are quite upsetting for
Mhm.
like, I think even, I think she's like the BPD queen of the 40s for like some of her performances and like a very, like she should have won the Oscar, absolutely. Much
Yeah.
respect to Joan Crawford for Leave Her to Heaven, but
Mhm.
like I do worry about like, am I by doing content on her or doing like fashion stuff around her, like am I objectifying these like spirits of these old like actresses in the same way?
I
Do you have
mean,
any thoughts about that? Like for being a Louise Brooks super fan? I
yeah,
mean,
I mean, obviously I love her aesthetic, and I probably wouldn't have been drawn to her in the first place if it wasn't for her aesthetic.
the girl in the
And
helmet.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, she's so distinctive looking. But I think if you try to appreciate the person as a whole instead of just, like if you had only made a video about her outfits and hadn't gone and taken the time to know that, oh, she hated that she was only known for her outfits. I think that's like the distinction to me.
Hmm.
I think if you just stop at the aesthetic appreciation, then you are just contributing to objectifying them. But if you can appreciate them aesthetically and hold the same idea of them being a real person at the
Hmm.
same time, like, then I think it's fine. Like, I mean, it's kind of what we were talking about with men and women. It's like if you can appreciate someone aesthetically or physically and still know that they're a real person and not, view them as an object, then I don't think it's that bad if you view someone aesthetically pleasing. Like, I don't think that's a crime, really. Like,
Yeah.
and especially someone like Jean Tierney. I mean, Jean Tierney was so just objectively beautiful. It's almost impossible for you not to address it because it did lead
Yeah.
also to, complications in her life.
Yeah.
It impacted her life. So to not acknowledge that is also just, you are missing the picture too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Damn. Well, hopefully spirits of Gene Tierney and Louise Brooks and Dorothy Stratton, uh, and I guess if the Manic Pixie Dream Girl that Melanie Griffith might have been based on, hopefully we didn't re-traumatize any of you by this
yeah,
episode.
yeah.
Much love, much respect. Hopefully you get perspectives told from your side. Um, okay, in terms of recommendations, so the Misfits I just watched. For the audience, Misfits is very similar with Marilyn Monroe. Blue Angel with Marlena Dietrich. The opposite of like a bunch from the perspective. I think Blue Steel by Bigelow. I don't know if you I'd be curious for your take on that because like
Okay.
she gets to a place that like the ending of it is like tremendous and like I don't even want to spoil it, but Blue Steel. I can send you this so you don't have
Oh,
to write them
okay.
down. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Punch Drunk Love for sure. Also Manic Pixie kind of, but it gets a pass. Luna for the mother son thing. Nights of
Hmm.
Cabiria and any Fellini because I think
Yeah.
it'll devastate you. Billy Corbin documentaries as a Miami lady. The
Hell yeah.
Hanging Tree is I did a podcast on that with shout out Je ne sais quoi a couple episodes back and Meek's Cutoff. That's actually in terms of perspective would be a fascinating one because I did a whole video on that about Dorothy. I always forget if it's Dorothy Johnson or Dorothy otherwise. And see, this is even uh I'm even doing it where I don't know the lady's name. Um,
You can't
but
know everyone's name.
I
It's
bought
just
two of
it's
her
tough.
books. That was the thing. I bought signed copies of it. Dorothy Johnson, yeah, I was right. But she wanted to write a book. She's a fascinating one. I did a whole video on this, but she wanted to write a book about what she's like. She was known as a Western lady, as a Western author who wrote perspectives from the perspective of women and Native Americans and children more so than otherwise. But she is known for the movies that got made into movies where like I believe it was the Hanging Tree and the Man Who Shot Liberty Valance and A Man Called Horse, and the only movies that really got a lot into production were ones that were based on that were like from the perspective of dudes, and specifically the Hanging Tree has a fascinated history where she tried to write this book because she saw a bunch of books written about like men running out of water in the desert. And so she was like, what would happen if that happened to a woman? And so she wrote this whole book, and the publisher said, no one's going to read this. So, and they literally made her like cut it down like 40,000 words and make it about the classic archetype of like the gunslinging dude with a fucked up past. And like the thing. So the movie maintains like it's, again, because Delmer Daves is a very kind of a pervert director. It's the same along these lines where like he has the worst vibes of like any director ever, but he's fascinating. He's got like every one of his movies has like some type of essay or like in the 40s and 50s or like incest. It's bizarre. He's a bizarre director.
I have to watch. So
The Hanging Tree. It has he goes like, again, he has a lot of empathy for it because like it goes into like basically how much is a woman worth is like kind of the thesis of the movie. Like, is she worth like 7 pieces of gold? Is she worth 50 cents? Like, and it's like, it's a big theme of it. And then Meek's Cutoff is actually a Western. It's like the first Western I've seen from the perspective of the woman, by a woman director, Kelly Reichardt, shout out, all the way in 2010. So it only took, again, like 90 years. And then Susan Slade for Dumb Girls. Shout out Connie Stevens.
For Peeping Dumb Tom. Girl representation.
Yeah. And then you said Diary of a Lost Girl. So what else you got besides? That's for Louise Brooks?
Diary of a Lost Girl.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
you got any are there any other, you said a lot of Louise Brooks that didn't survive. Are there any other Louise Brooks ones that survived?
Honestly, there are a couple, but honestly, like I said, they're mostly just cheesecake stuff. Like, if you really need to like watch her, like I would honestly
don't encourage that, Isabel.
No.
If you want to be like G.W. Pabst and the characters in this movie.
No, I think you're just better off just watching the documentaries we watched. I just feel like you're just better off. Like the interviews she's done and anything she's written is just it's all available online. Like the one I sent you for Sight and Sound.
Yeah. Her books, right? You'd recommend her. Is it Lulu in Hollywood is the book?
Yeah.
Is like Lulu in Hollywood is, if you want to hear from Louise's own words.
And then this one good. It's by Barry Paris. It's a good, like, solid bio.
What's that one called?
It's just called Louise Brooks by Barry, Barry, Paris, like the city.
Nice.
Honestly, since we were talking about it, the women is really fun. I really like that movie. I'm trying to think.
We're big fan of the women on this podcast. So.
Yeah, I love women.
Yeah.
I love.
Shout out women.
Shout out women. Love you so much.
Yeah.
And if you want,
I'm assuming one of them lies is like a focus on lying. One of them has a focus on hot chips.
Yes.
Is that like the
other one charges their phone?
Yeah.
The other one's unhinged. That's pretty much it. Yeah. That's the whole movie.
Is a bisexual one?
Yes.
Sick.
And if you want another good silent movie, you can watch Haxon.
Oh yeah, I need to see that.
And then another movie that's good, that's kind of the same like German expressionist vein as M. As in Michael, 1931.
Great movie, Fritz Lang.
Yeah. And then Metropolis, obviously. Honestly, it's kind of hard to watch silent movies if you're just getting into them. So don't feel bad if you get bored or want to pause it. I think we're so used to hearing people talk and everything, and there's not really a lot of talking. Like there's just not dialogue cards. There's really not that many of them most of the time. You have to kind of appreciate it, right, as like just literally a visual medium. Because there's no voice acting, there's no sound design, so
sure.
But I think those ones are good starter ones. And then M is just really good. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's about murderer.
I love Fritz Lang. I just watched Rancho Notorious with Marlena Dietrich.
Oh yeah.
Good Western. It's a fun one.
That's one of my friend's favorite movies. And he like yelled at me for like a year to watch it. And I finally watched it. I was like, this is really good, but you didn't need to yell at me for a year about this one. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's not a yell at a year. It's just kind of a fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fun one. The score in it's really funny because they play it's like a really kind of, they play some bad Western songs.
Yeah. They do. Yeah. That's pretty much it though. That's it for me.
Yeah, anything with and also Vertigo, any of those ones with Obsession if you want more of this. Don't watch too many of these in a row probably though.
Yes. Yeah. Don't do it.
And if you please slide into the DMs of me, at least. I'm not going to volunteer for that, but like if you know movies that like woman's perspective out of being obsessed with, I would love to see that because I really can't think of many, which is sad. Yeah. Cool.
That's okay. I couldn't either. So.
Yeah, I know it sucks. Like it's like
I know.
You know, I was like I mean, there's just so many that like. Well, I remember when I saw that. I think I mentioned Christopher Strong when I saw that, like the perspective of her showing the woman putting on the wifely demeanor. I was just like, damn, I can't. That's I didn't know I was missing that, but like
it's super cool.
That's, fucked up. Yeah. Isabel, thank you so much for coming on. This has been super fun.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for talking about Louise Brooks, and maybe we could do like a follow up on like the Misfits, and we could do another Blue Steel episode. Yeah, maybe if we can find a couple, we'll do one about women looking out, maybe, or men looking out. I'm totally down. There are. Yeah,
I'm there, man.
Cool. Sweet. All right, well, thanks everyone, and I'll see you.